Anthony, Fox News, and that is a worry on Florida's Gulf Coast as the hurricane bears down less than 2 weeks after Helene hit.
Just got the 5 a.m. advisory, 100-mile-per-hour sustained winds, expecting this to become a major hurricane in the next couple of hours.
Fox meteorologist Dennis Dean says there's a lot of concern about Milton hitting midweek.
Particularly Tampa Bay, down toward Fort Myers.
Governor Ron DeSantis says,
if you're on that west coast of Florida and barrier islands, just assume that you likely are going to be called upon to evacuate.
Meanwhile, Helene blamed for at least 230 deaths, with more people still unaccounted for, especially in flood-devastated areas far from the coast where the storm hit first.
President Biden is sending another 500 active duty troops to North Carolina to assist in Hurricane Helene recovery efforts. They will join thousands of other troops, National Guardsmen, and federal personnel with ongoing search and rescue and rebuilding efforts.
Fox's Chanley Painter. It's a somber day in Israel. 1 year since the Hamas terror attack that triggered the war in Gaza.
And there is still significant pressure on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to reach a ceasefire deal outside his house in Jerusalem this morning as hundreds of people gathered demanding that he make that deal soon. As of this morning, 101 hostages remain in Gaza. 36 are confirmed to be dead. And 28-year-old Idan Shtivi is one of those 36. His death was announced this morning, a full year after he was taken into Gaza.
That's Fox's Nate Foy in Tel Aviv, where sirens went off again today as Hamas fired more rockets from Gaza, where Palestinians say more than 40,000 people have been killed in the war. It's Nobel Prize week, and moments ago, 2 Americans were awarded the Nobel for Medicine, Victor Ambros and Gary Ruvkin, for a discovery of so-called microRNA in gene activity, considered important understanding how organisms develop and function. America's listening to Fox News.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
NYPD officer Jonathan Diller's tragic story made national headlines this year. Now, Jonathan was shot and killed by a career criminal during a traffic stop. Jonathan, who is just 31 years old, leaves behind his wife Stephanie and 1-year-old son Ryan. Now, nothing will ever replace the loss of a husband and a father, but the Tunnel to Towers Foundation was able to pay off the mortgage on the Diller family's home. Please commit to $11 a month. Go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
The Morning Extra, only on Extra 106.3.
Morning, y'all. We are glad to be with you on Extra 106.3. 404-741-1230 is the number. You're always welcome to call at Extra 106.3 across the social media platforms. And to my friends, good morning. Rhino, what's up?
Good morning. Well, you know, it's another a fun weekday. Unfortunately, it's the anniversary, I guess, if you want to call it an anniversary. I mean,
it is
weird.
The marking of 1 year of the
October 7th.
October 7th tragedies. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, normal people, anybody with any sense in their head whatsoever, is marking this day as very sad. And then there's a handful of people, mainly terrorists in the Middle East, that are celebrating it.
Of course.
So I'm not sure how there's anybody, Lowe's, that ever chooses the side of terror. Like those crazy kids on college campuses, you know, they're joining the terrorists.
Well, the story's yet to be written. And I think that's, as we get to 1 year out, you know, there's a lot of people that were within Hamas and Hezbollah that thought that day, hey, awesome, things are great. And then their pager blew up and blew off their lower regions, and or their tunnels were taken out. And you know, as excited as they were, 6 months later, they're dead. It's the same thing on college campuses. You were celebrating it, and now you're not in school any longer. It's like this is all going to play out over the next several years. We'll see where all of this goes.
Yeah, I think for Israel, it's a remembrance. For people who, like Black Lives Matter, who put up pictures of people flying in on parachutes and gliders and standing with terrorists, I think it is an anniversary or a celebration for them of what they want, which is to eliminate Jews. That's the sad part of where we are in this country and around the world right now. But I do know that 100 people are still innocent people men, women, and no more children, thank goodness, who have been taken are still hostages. They're still there a year later. So those are the things I think we should remember today, because I think what we're going to see in this country is one group is going to peacefully show their support for Israel. The other one is going to be who they are, which are pro-terrorists who will cause trouble.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And, the concern for most, I think, is that most of those remaining hostages are not alive.
Correct.
Because of the way Hamas has been decimated down to one last final, battalion, brigade, whatever you want to call them. And that doesn't leave me with a lot of hope that anybody else is remaining, because
who's taking care of them or doing anything?
Who's guarding them? Because half of the majority of Hamas is dead. So I think what you said right there had a lot of merit there, Los, is the fact that the story's yet to be written. It's not all the way done, but what they started and what they're finishing with is very different.
And when I say the story yet to be written, are we going to a point where this launches nuclear war in the Middle East? We don't know.
Right.
This is where a horrible attack on October 7th then went to an operation, taking out Hamas, going through Gaza, just decimating the whole area, and then became this regional warfare where Iran and all of their satellites that they use, all the stuff that they fund, they were all taken out until it got to Israel versus Iran. And Iran is a potential nuclear power. We'll see where it goes.
2 weeks away, they say.
And whether or not Iran decides to take out that ability of Iran, again, we'll see if they're willing to go that extra mile.
And you heard Joe Biden over the weekend say, we should take out the Iranians' oil fields and natural gas production facilities. And then by the end of the weekend had already backtracked and said, no, we shouldn't do that. So, the president of the United States, the leader of the free world, doesn't even know where he wants to be, mainly because he didn't know where he is.
Right.
And so is it weird that we don't even hold him to a standard anymore? Because it feels weird, but he has dementia, so it's hard to hold him to a standard. He's not capable.
Well, it's weird because I think people on the, right side of the aisle, I'll say, are sympathetic to the fact that this man's been abused for over 4 years now. I mean, even going back to when he was campaigning for this position, he was being abused because they knew. They knew where he was. They lied about it. They continued to. So the ones that were, in complete, if you want to say, denial were the Democrats for a long time. And they gave him every pass they could.
That's very charitable.
Right, I know. I'm trying to be nice because, we have to be nice to some of these people. But the reality of it is this. They were making it okay that he couldn't remember people's names or know where he was or kept falling downstairs or looking weak or not being able to run this country. Of course, they knew background that he wasn't really running this country. I think the right, we feel sorry for what he's been through, but we remember who he was as a senator, the bad things that he was doing before all of this happened. And at the same time, we don't know who's running our country right now. I don't think we should be as nice about it. We should be involved in who's running our country. We should know who's running our country and the direction they're taking us.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to be nice or not nice about it. I know I'm frustrated by it, and I know it makes no sense. And yet, when you step back and you take maybe a broader look, it makes complete sense because it doesn't matter. It's just like Kamala Harris running for office now. It will be the same way. It'll be the exact same thing because they're figureheads, they're puppets. It's the machine behind it.
I'm so excited that she's now decided to talk to the media.
Yeah.
I told you last week the internals were going so badly for her that they decided, okay, let's have her talk to the media now. I mean, that was, you want to talk about a sea change?
Yes.
Where your entire plan, and this is not 2020, this is not your COVID run for the presidency where we can hide Joe Biden in the basement and have him not say anything. People want to hear from the people they're trying to elect. And the idea that they could hide her for the better part of 4 months leading up to an election is now proven to be, it's just faulty.
All right, so let's hear her speaking on 60 Minutes. When they start asking, since we're talking about Israel, and it is the the marking of the 1 year of that horrific scene on civilians and men, women, and children. And then she's asked about it. And if you can, somebody just listen, and then 404-741-1230 and let me know what she said, because I'm too dumb to figure it out, y'all.
We all are.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
Huh?
What? Okay, so what she said was, I'm only supposed to say joy and spread that words out because I don't know anything about what's actually happening in that region. I'm not really tasked with anything important. I'm a figurehead. That's what she said, because that's all I got out of it was, yeah, I don't really understand. I don't know. I can't really talk about Netanyahu because I'm not as strong of a leader as him, and I don't understand what's going on or what's happening in that region.
She has no idea what's going on. It wouldn't have mattered, though. The difference is, I think, if you would have asked her just a basic everyday question like, how was your weekend? You would have gotten that.
Yeah,
it
probably.
was just that same, just nothing.
Well, the weekend
talking
has been
circles,
no burdens,
and no substance behind it whatsoever. She stands for nothing.
This was the weekend where I felt really, really, and I'm going to use one more, really good about the election. Because when you go through a sea change like this, it's because you recognize that the internals are not going well. And so you have to pivot and you have to change course. Remember, this woman largely ran for the better part of the last 2 months as if I'm going to win, and so I'm going to do this, and it's going to work out. And now it's turned into I have to change, and I have to do something that I'm completely uncomfortable with, which is get in front of people and answer questions that we know only hurts her.
Yeah, and I think part of this, too, is she's still worried about supporting Israel and not supporting the pro-terrorist groups enough, because a lot of the pro-terrorist groups happen to be a base of her party, a big base, 33% of it that support the pro-terrorists. So I think a lot of what she talks about when talking about Israel and what's going on there, she has to, in her mind, paint a fine line because she's afraid of losing votes. Because everything she's doing right now is about winning and pulling the blinds down so no one can see who she really is.
Well, this is the idea is to try and use the Barack Obama approach. Basically, I'm an empty bucket. You fill it with whatever you want to fill it with. Whatever your hopes and dreams are, you put them on me, and I will support them, and I will be that for you. But Barack Obama was very articulate and very polished.
Beat me to it.
And that's the difference. It's that as soon as she gets in front of people, you go, I was really hoping Kamala would change my life. She's a moron.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But you know, the crazy thing is that people who support her, they listen to her, and they seem to make something out of that, because otherwise they would have the same questions we do.
I don't think they listen to her. I don't at all. I think it's just they listen to Trump. They listen to what the media says about Trump. They don't actually listen to Trump. Let me rephrase that. They listen to what the media says about Trump. So in their mind, they don't hear anything Kamala Harris is saying. They just know that she's the installed candidate they're supposed to vote for, and it's not Donald Trump. So everything is anti-Trump. They don't hear a word she says.
404-741-1230. David's on the line. And David, it's good to have you early on a Monday morning. What's up?
Well, after listening to that clip you guys just played, it further validates my opinion that I would not let this woman run a lemonade stand, let alone the United States of America.
David, you're exactly right. Thank you so much. David hears exactly what we hear.
David, you're going to get that all week. Yeah. Whether it's going to be on the Colbert Show, whether it's going to be with Howard Stern, whether it's going to be on The View. The plan was to hide her. They've now shifted and said, okay, we're going to put her on all these shows. And again, they're all friendly towards her. But when they ask her about specific policy, that's when you're going to rub your hands together and go, that was funny.
They're going to ask, well, hold on. They're going to ask her about policy, you think?
They'll say, what is your economic plans for the future? And she'll say, I grew up
in a middle-class family.
No, that's exactly
Well,
right.
because what I know of Howard Stern is, he's been very racist in the past, of course, putting on blackface and pretending to be Ted Danson and Whoopi Goldberg and all the things. I know he's the most misogynistic man in history when it comes to doing radio shows. I listened growing up in New York. I mean, you knew who he was, so I'm surprised that he'd ask anything political, because most of the things he does is, disgusting in that regard. But I don't take any of the interviews that she's actually going to do serious. I mean, interviews are just fluff pieces. She did hers with the, I forget the name of the silly podcast.
Call Her Daddy.
Call Her Daddy, yeah, the one where, they were trying to just talk about abortion. I mean, she's not taking anything serious that affects most of Americans, so they will distract. And these people that she's aligned her interviews with, they're all friendly.
So, Call Me Daddy, hosted by Alex Cooper. It's about human sexuality, sexual relationships, and the culture of New York City. It started in 2018. So I want to read you, because I don't have the audio cut, but I want to read you what she said. They asked her why you came on. Why did you decide to come on the podcast? And she said, well, I think your listeners have got this thing right, which is one of the best ways to communicate with people, is to be real, and to talk about the things that people care about. What I love about what you do is that your voice and your show is really about your listeners. And I think especially now, this moment in the country and in life where people really want to be seen and heard, they are a part of a community and not out there alone. And so I'm really glad to be here with you. What the hell?
Yeah.
What the actual hell?
But that's the substance of this person.
What? But what? Like, why'd you decide to come on this? And she just...
circled around everything.
It's like the Tasmanian devil, man. She's just spinning and bouncing off a thing like a pinball machine or something.
Because she doesn't have a thought of her own or critical thinking that she can actually push through and give a good reason of why she's on that show.
I would really like to thank Joe Biden for all of this.
Yeah.
Joe Biden was the one who made it a point. If you're going to lock me down in Delaware, I'm going to endorse Kamala Harris. And at that point, everything got rolling to where, well, Joe Biden said it should be Kamala. And he knew all this was going to happen. The fact that we went 60 days where he's rubbing his hands together going, she's supposed to fail at any point.
Yeah.
And then by Friday, he's like, well, then I'll help her fail.
Yeah.
I'll go get out in front of the media and tell you how all the stuff you don't like, she was part of it too.
Exactly. We got that cut. We'll
This is all run by Joe. Joe's the one who made all this happen.
And why would you change anything? Why would you change anything but a basement, policy in running for the candidacy of the presidency of the United States? Because it worked in 2020. They didn't need to have him out there talking because they knew it would hurt. Same plan goes for Kamala Harris. Do not let her speak to anybody that's that's not a friend. If they're a friend or they're going to be on our side, yeah, we'll let them go on those shows. But do not let them go on the press. I'll give Tim Walz credit. At least he went on Fox News. That was probably the biggest and strongest move of the weekend, was him doing that. And you know what? Even though, you could see through it all, he did a good job for what he wanted to do to rally his base. I don't think it works over on Fox News, but at least he's talking to people who are going to ask him tough questions. Shannon Bream's not an easy person to deal with. Shut him down. It was brilliant. And then when you look at the other side, I mean, even J.D. Vance, he's on CNN, MSNBC.
He's always
hitting
in
everything.
the line of fire, yeah.
Yep.
That's right. Well, but Kamala can't do that. And I think she realizes it. It's not like she's dying to get out in front of people like that, because she knows that she can't handle it. She knows she's going to talk in circles. I mean, she's probably done that the entirety of her life, but I would imagine she's comfortable trying to talk in circles, but I think she probably knows that she's not effective. How can you not?
Imposter syndrome sounds like the very epitome of who she is, and that when she gets to a point where she's challenged, knowing that she has had an easy road in comparison, she really hadn't had to go through the private sector in order to really advance in life, and so you make friends and you push your way through into government. Now she's out there on a stage where people have to decide whether or not they like her or dislike her. And it's not just her constituents now. Now it's people that completely view her in an opposite way than what her people in California did. And it's problematic for her.
It used to be easier as vice president to fall back on they're misogynistic and don't like women and they don't like me because I'm black. They can't do that as a presidential candidate because, you know what, that excuse won't fly in big situations.
Morning Extra on Extra 1063. We'll knock out the headlines when we come back.
What about so many other so-called progressives out there? The DEI movement. They want punishment for criminal activity to be equitable.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 1063 and the Extra app.
Hey, Jimmy, what's going on?
Oh, hey, Bobby. It's kind of embarrassing. I'm having deck problems.
You're having deck problems?
Hey, keep it down. It's embarrassing.
Now, look, there's plenty of guys in the neighborhood with deck problems. What's the matter with yours?
Well, it's small and old compared to yours.
All right, let's not make this a deck measuring competition. You just need to call Excavations. They've seen decks of all sizes, shapes, and colors. Good news is Excavations can build you a sweet new deck that you'll love to show off to your friends and neighbors. Don't worry, Jimmy. We're going to get you some big deck energy.
Hi, this is Candace with Excavations, and have I got a tip for you. Don't feel ashamed of your deck. Excavations can build an outdoor living space that you'll be proud of. And with our Exavision, we'll be able to show you your home's transformation before you even begin the work. Keep the HOA off your deck and give us a call today for decks, windows, siding, roofing, and more. Or visit us at exovations.com to get inspired.
Hi, this is Ben.
And I'm Walt from Horizon Background Screening. I would say the biggest benefit of working with Horizon is that we have people working in every courthouse throughout the country to be able to pull records and help with those background checks. There's probably not going to be anything that you can throw by us that's either going to shock us, surprise us, or that we can't put together to help you. The best way for people to find us is on our website. A quick Google search of Horizon Background Screening or look at us at horizonscreening.com.
What's up, Atlanta? It's Ben Burnett, host of the Weekend Ben Burnett Show. Each and every weekend, right here on Extra 1063, we unpack all the week's events. We talk about all the issues with a local Atlanta-based flavor. You can catch me each and every weekend, Saturdays at 2 and Sundays at noon. If you ever miss an episode, you can go to the podcast park or wherever you download all of your content, and I'll be right there. Thanks for listening to the Ben Burnett Show, proudly brought to you by Butler Snow.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
You know the old expression, I love it when a plan comes together? Well, with our First Liberty Notes, this has been so true. Hello, I'm Brant Frost, founder of First Liberty Building and Loan. You hear about our family's company all the time right here on this station. For over 30 years, we've been the local lender who said yes when the big banks say no. A couple of months ago, we opened up our First Liberty Notes program to Main Street investors just like you, and the response has been just incredible. Folks from airline pilots to physicians to even pastors are now earning 8 to 13% interest rates while helping to fuel the growth of local small businesses. If you're a qualified investor with a minimum of $25,000, you too could be earning 8 to 13% interest. We'd love to have you join our First Liberty family today. Go to firstlibertyga.com and see if our First Liberty Notes are right for you. Go to firstlibertyga.com. That's firstlibertyga.com.
First Liberty Notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. SEC accredited investor status must be verified. Securities not offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Monday, October 7th. Douglas County deputies responded to a burglary call in the St. Andrews Country Club neighborhood early Friday morning. Deputies found that Aubrey Horton had entered a home and was then shot and fatally wounded by the homeowner in what the Sheriff's Department is calling an act of self-defense. The Atlanta Police Department confirmed that Aubrey Horton was an investigator with the fugitive unit and was off duty at the time of the shooting. Investigator Horton had been honored as Officer of the Year just a few days earlier. Today is the last day to register to vote in the state of Georgia. You can register online at the Georgia Secretary of State's office or register by mail, phone, or in person at a local election office. Here are some important things to know if you plan on registering today. You must have a valid ID, be a U.S. citizen, and be a legal resident in the county where you are registering. Early voting in the state begins on October 15th and ends on November 1st. And if your commute involves MARTA, passengers on the Gold Line should be aware that the trains will be skipping the Brookhaven station for the next 6 weeks as renovations begin on the station's platforms. During the renovations, MARTA will provide shuttle bus service to Lenox Station to the south and Chambly Station to the north. Construction is expected to last until November 15th.
My favorite sandwich is an Italian sandwich. You'd probably be like, that's on brand. It makes sense. Yeah. If
You're right, actually.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely my favorite sandwich.
I got to tell you, and I didn't grow up eating those, but since my wife and I have been married, 23 years now, she's introduced me to them over the years, finally got me to try them about, 10 and 15 years ago.
She's going to come to her senses.
And now, at some point.
Growing up.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Like now, an Italian is my favorite sandwich too, and I never had that growing up. So it's kind of not on brand for me. If you'd have said, Tug likes to go to Waffle House, I'd be like, that's on brand.
I need to say this too real quick. Go get an Italian sandwich at Nucky's Hoagies.
There you go. Yes, over Roswell.
Those ladies need your support.
So
I don't know if people know, but Kimmer was doing his live show there, and we had some crazy loony jump in and really just kind of attack people, and all of them stood up. So I ask you to go stand up for Nucky's Hoagies and get one of the Italians.
Absolutely.
Just a quick pitch.
And a good one.
Because their food is good.
They are, and they're the sweetest ladies, and they're working hard, so please go support Nucky's over in Roswell. But if I told you that Front Office Lowe's has laid out the entire NFL draft and he chose the top 5 correct, you'd be like, dude, that's on brand. Dude. That's on brand for Front Office Lowe's. And then when I tell you that the federal government tells private citizens, I know you're helping more than we are in Western North Carolina.
Yeah.
But you have to stop or we're going to put you in jail.
That's on brand.
That is on brand for the federal government.
This is going to make people crazy because as much as 6 years ago we went through some of this stuff here in Florida, it didn't get to this point that it is right now. Like if you brought supplies in, all authorities want to know is, did you bring any weaponry? No, sir. Any kind of chemicals? Some cleaning material. Okay, have a good day. That was pretty much it. What's happening right now, and the reports have been out for the last basically 24 hours, is that the federal government, when they are running the checkpoint and you're trying to come in with supplies, they want to know, did you get it from one of their preferred vendors?
Get out of here.
That is what's happening.
That is on brand. That's about right.
You're having to apply in order to be able to help. So let's just say you happen to be, your particular work is you're really good at clearing debris, trees, anything else. You load it up with chainsaws and all that sort of stuff, and you're ready to go help people. What the federal government will do at the checkpoint is see if you have applied to be able to help. That's where we're at. That's what's happening now.
I mean, you already saw the dad and the son that were in their own personal helicopter, burning their own jet fuel, going out and rescuing people. And
first responders, by the way. They're not just you and me getting in a helicopter.
Right. No, that's right. And dude was with the sheriff's department and then ended up with the fire department. So dude knows what he's doing. And he was told by federal authorities and local authorities, you can no longer do this. There was I don't know if you've seen the work that Greg Biffle is doing. Do y'all know who Greg Biffle is? The NASCAR driver?
Yeah, the NASCAR driver. Right?
Yeah. He's using his own helicopter and burning his own gas, and he's running missions like crazy. If you go and find him on social media, I think it's just at Greg Biffle. and he's got a bunch of videos up of the work that he's doing. I've not heard him be shut down yet, maybe because he's recognizable to so many people in that area, and there might be some blowback. I don't know why they're not shutting him down, but they've shut everybody else down. His work is outstanding, and he's doing the work that FEMA should be, Los, and FEMA is failing to do again.
You have to ignore the government in this case. This is just what it is. And so when when you're told, well, you don't have a permit, well, you can go to hell. Well, these supplies are not from one of our preferred vendors. Well, you can go to hell. Because every single thing calls on you to help your neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you want to call that whether it's your religion, whether it's just your faith, whether it's your belief in your society, all of it calls upon you to help your neighbors.
Yeah.
And that's what the government is preventing you from doing so that they have a monopoly on help.
That's the scary part, because when you do hear, okay, again, Samaritan's Purse, they're doing a good
Graham.
job. Franklin Graham. Glenn
Terrific.
Beck,
Yeah.
who is sending people to help and find shelter and bring food. When we look at the people that continue to bring help, they are usually Corey Mills, by the way.
Yes.
Also somebody who just a huge, big hero to help in North Carolina. Obviously a Republican from Florida. Republicans don't care about what you need to do. They just want to be there to help, and they're going to send help. That's the one thing that I do know more than anything else. Now, I may be wrong, but I can't think of anybody on the left that has stood up the way Glenn Beck, Corey Mills, or even Samaritan's Purse and Franklin Graham have done. I really haven't. So, and if I'm wrong, let me know. But I don't see it. I don't see Nancy Pelosi or any of them putting through and working on these things. They depend on it, and that's the sick part, to stop them.
And you're going to have, I'm more than assured, you're going to have Democrats that are going to go and jump in and help out on all this sort of stuff. But as far as, where's the organization where you say, there's no questions asked, just get in there and do it?
Yeah.
The government is asking, doesn't matter who they are. Hey, hold up a second. Do you have the right paperwork? Well, it doesn't matter if I have the right paperwork. I'm trying to go in and help. And again, these areas are dangerous. It's when I say you just can't send anybody in. So when you have an organization that is used to doing this work, let them go. Why are we trying to create more havoc and create more suffering by not allowing people with supplies and with know-how to get in and do this work?
Folks like Team Rubicon, I think it's another one that go in and just an incredible organization. And it'd be fine if they just said, hey, and maybe you said this, Lois, but it'd be fine if they just said check in so we know where you are and what you're doing, and that way we don't send too many resources to where you already are. If there was like a partnership there. But no, they're saying you can't fly. We will arrest you if you fly. Buttigieg with the whole don't fly your drones.
Yeah, don't use your drones around here.
Absolutely not welcome, because we have to be able to do that. Well, you continue to fail at it. So that's why I love seeing those hillbillies in western North Carolina with their pack mules lined up 25 deep with baggage and boxes looking like it's 1870 going across the prairies to get to California. That's what they look like, because that's what they come from, and they're able to do it effectively, and there's nothing that the federal government does effectively.
Not at all. In fact, ironically enough, we have a good friend, Etta, who rents our Airbnb underneath the house there, and is a wonderful woman, and she flies drones, and she was just called. She left this morning because they called her to bring the drones so they could do that kind of footage. So it was kind of ironic that the government called her to come do that when they had people there. But I'm glad she got the job because, obviously it helps her. But that's the reality of what's going on, is that they are looking for contractors, looking for ways. And again, this is all about the way that Democrats are going to handle this. And I truly believe they're going to use this as a climate emergency kind of fraud, and they're going to play the game with that and make it something more than it really is. What we need to do is allow people who want to help, if they are going to help, get inside and let them help their fellow Americans. There's nothing wrong with that. I understand where they feel about, hey, don't get in the way. I don't see people getting in the way in that manner. And I heard from a lot of people who are in Asheville and a lot of people that I know out there that this is such a mess. Nobody's in the way. Really, nobody's in the way. Anybody who has a chainsaw that can cut a tree, that's not in the way. That's helping get, roads open and things done.
See, this is where people make mistakes about this sort of stuff. There isn't a way. Everything's crushed.
Yeah,
Just
right.
what it
There's no right way.
There's no like. All it is let's all get to work and as many people as possible. There's no such thing in these scenarios as, well, today we're going to work on this and then we'll go work on. It's like, no, it's just that. There's no starting and ending point. It's just you just got to go.
Yeah, it's where you are picking up.
Yeah, and so that's what's ridiculous is to think that the federal government thinks that they can somehow organize this and do it in this manner. It's like, no, all you want are people on the ground with stuff doing stuff, and whether that's cleaning up or taking little things. Like, you would never imagine something as like an elderly couple trying to get their couch out to the street,
right?
Because the couch is done. You got to get it's too heavy, it weighs too much, it's so waterlogged, but they got to get it out to the street. Those are the little things that people don't think about. That's why these organizations come in to help people with this stuff.
You're seeing people that are able to get the garbage out of their house. You know, some of the flood waters have receded, and now they don't have a place to dump it.
Yeah.
And you're seeing the backing up of garbage, and they're not allowed to go to landfills. They're not allowed to go to dumps, and the federal government is causing an obstacle there again. But politics, I want to point this out because I think this is so important. Politics are at play in what's happening in Western North Carolina. It is because those are hillbilly Trump voters outside of Asheville. The Asheville folks are just a casualty that the Democrats are willing to sacrifice. Remember when Rahm Emanuel said, do not ever let a crisis go to waste? This is the type of crisis they were talking about. Western North Carolina's Trump country. And for once in a generation, this is a disaster that is unimaginable. And you know what's going to happen? Those people aren't going to be able to go vote. And that's not going to be the forefront of what's happening in their life. Yes, is voting important? Yes. But when you're in a situation like that, it becomes backseat material to saving lives and having your own life saved.
Yeah, the reality is, and I'm glad you said it, and I hate to say it in the way that we think, but yeah, they're okay with them not being able to vote because they know where their votes are going. That's sick. The reality of it is this: there's no crisis that has gone to waste. In fact, when you look at what the Democrats have done, East Palestine, very red area.
Yeah.
Did they take care of them?
Nope.
No. And of course, now we're talking about this. But it's not just that. We know Maui and Hawaii, very blue. Very blue. Did they take care of them? And I think that's what we need to look at. They are playing games. They are trying to keep funding going. They're trying to keep bigger budgets happening so that they can all benefit from this. But do they really care about the American people? And I hope people will look at this, including the people of Asheville and the ones that sit there and are very, very Democrat and very, very far liberal. I want you to see where your government is today, the ones that you put in place, the ones that, not you, that they put in place because they installed them. I want you to think about that.
Give me an example and tell me why I should believe that politics are not at play in Western North Carolina. If you can give me one example, 404-741-1230, and tell me why politics are not at play. Help me understand it. Talk to me like I'm a little kid and help me understand why it's not being slow walked. The FEMA response, hey, we don't got no money, sorry. All of that. Tell me why I should believe that politics are not at play, and I'll listen.
Or tell me what they're doing.
Yeah,
tell me what they're doing.
And help me understand
and
what it is and how good the help is. Because the folks on the ground are saying the exact opposite.
Carlos, and you've been through this again. You know, we've talked about that. And when my restaurant burned down and I was having like the worst part of my life happening right there in front of my eyes, it didn't matter whether people were okay to come there or not, or whether they were getting in the way. People brought me food. Maybe it was just a warm sandwich. Maybe it was an Italian sandwich. I appreciated that more than anything else anybody did for me. And to keep people out that just want to help other people just because they're not part of the government uniparty or whatever it may be that they want them to use, that's sick to me. Because right now, this is when Americans need to step up to help all Americans, regardless of political affiliation.
I'll just point something out. We have a tremendous partner in Harrah's, and they have been with this radio station and doing great work with the Atlanta Braves and with our company for years. The federal government came in to Harrah's Cherokee and basically said, we're staging some of our operations from here. They got a bunch of hotel rooms for the FEMA people. While people in North Carolina are standing in mud and trying to figure out what they're doing, your federal government has their FEMA employees in a luxury hotel.
I saw this too, and I think that's what Ted in Smyrna wants to talk about at 404-741-1230. Ted, what's up?
Hey, I was just wondering why none of these people are ever charged with embezzlement, misappropriation of funds.
Buddy, I wish I could tell you.
Because they're all in the game together.
They're in the game,
They all
yeah.
got their hand in the piggy bank. They all got their hand in the cookie jar. They're all a part of the problem. The uniparty is real. That's why, Ted, there's only a handful of people that you can trust in Washington, D.C. because they're all on the take.
They're all on the take, and that's the scary part.
Well, the fun part for Ted, once one of them steps out of line, similar to the mayor and Eric Adams in New York, once you step out of line, then they call you on this stuff. It's like, we all know each other's dirt. So don't cause a problem, or else we're going to call you on it. And sure enough, that's how it works.
Well, the Democrats are good at turning on their own, especially when the heat starts getting there. And, right now in the city of Atlanta, it's going to get worse for the city council, who has been taking bribes for federal contracts. And if you don't think that's related to what's going on here, that's the way the government works. They play games with their friends, and they keep everybody out from doing the good stuff.
Oh, hold on. Republicans do it too.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Sure.
I'm just saying who's in charge now. But yes,
real.
the Uniparty does it all together.
If we ever wanted to get ourselves in so much trouble, we would tell you about what your governor and everybody else are involved in.
Oh, my Lord, dude.
If we really wanted to nuke the radio station, we would tell you all about that.
And we may just have to.
We may do.
I'm telling you, there's a lot of people that are starting to realize that there is some awful corruption.
There's some games going on
here in Georgia. So with that, let's continue on Extra 106.3. Kamala is falling further and further behind, but her plan to turn it around, it will not work. Next on the Morning Extra, we'll tell you what that plan is.
From the latest breaking news to the conservative voices you know and trust, your best new follow on social media is Extra 106.3. We're at XTRA 106.3 on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, and LinkedIn, and pretty much any social media you scroll through every day. And we drop exclusive giveaways, new daily content, and the latest breaking news from Georgia and across this great nation. Interact with your favorite Extra personalities. Get the latest on our live events and so much more. Follow at Extra 106.3 across all your social media and keep up with Atlanta's only conservative voice.
As we head into the fall, Central Heating and Air Conditioning would like to thank you for trusting them with your heating and air conditioning and home performance needs. And they want to save you some money. You see, your home, your safe space where you spend all your time with your family, can now be made safer with Central. Central has systems in place to include healthy, fresh, clean, allergen-free air with proper ventilation. I don't think many people even consider this stuff. What is it that you're breathing in inside your home? Central Heating and Air Conditioning can make sure that it is healthy, fresh, clean, allergen-free air, which is what we all want. With my son, when he's home, holy cow. He can just, his allergies can explode. And it happened for so many years before we started working with Central Heating and Air Conditioning. He's a lot of food allergies, obviously that didn't help, but all of his, just allergies because of the environment, that improved inside our house. Because we use Carrier products, it's just the best in the business, working with the best in the business. And if you need a new Carrier system, you can save $2,000 today. If you call them at Central Heating and Air Conditioning, Chuck and his team will help you. 770-GET-HEAT and centralheat.com.
I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but the cold air is coming fast. That means a couple different things to me and you. Energy bills will be rising and company coming over for the holidays. Dan Watkins here with All Four Seasons Garage, entry doors, and windows. It's time to get your house ready for the winter air and your holiday visitors. The good news is that we have you covered for every opening in your home. So call us today to set up a free estimate with one of our amazing sales consultants. They'll help you pick out the perfect garage door, front door, and windows for your home.
Neil Borch here. Maybe you've already taken the steps to improve your health, maybe save your life. You're using a CPAP for your sleep apnea. I've been using one for well over 20 years. So right now, I'm here to tell you about a source for CPAPs and CPAP supplies here in the Atlanta area. CPAPs, etc. They're in Alpharetta. They have whatever you need. Roddy and Sharon are your CPAP experts, and they'll ship nationwide. More information, cpapsetc.com.
If you're experiencing low energy, brain fog, or bloating, then your body might need a detox. Active Liver from New Nordic makes it easy to help your liver to detox your body all year long without major changes to your diet or lifestyle.
One of the hardest things to do is to walk away from a paycheck. As retirement planners, Masterplan knows how hard it can be to pull the trigger on your own retirement. Don't go it alone. Masterplan is a holistic retirement planning firm that works with you to create a retirement plan to help maximize your golden years. Through income planning and money management, legacy planning, and tax planning, we create a plan specifically designed for your life. Enter retirement with confidence. Contact Masterplan to analyze your retirement outlook and create a plan that's right for you. All initial consultations are complimentary, so contact us today and begin your pursuit towards peace of mind. Visit masterplanretire.com. Masterplan Retirement Consultants. Plan well and prosper.
Advisory services offered through Masterplan Retirement Consultants, Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates, Inc., DBA Masterplan Retirement Consulting. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station is always streaming live across Georgia on the Extra 106.3 app. Get the live stream and your favorite Extra podcast anywhere you go. Grab the Extra 106.3 app now for Apple or Android.
The worst thing Kamala Harris can do for her campaign, the worst thing that she could possibly do, is open her mouth and talk. Which seems to be, I don't know, important when you're campaigning, Los.
This is what she's been forced into. This is what the numbers have said. Remember, they wanted to run the basement campaign again. And to think that, I get it. With Joe Biden, there was the start of dementia. And if you just listen to him from 2020 to today, that's pretty extreme. 2016 to just night and day from 2016. And so I get it. This is the way you had to run things in order to put somebody out there that people would potentially would vote for. All right. The problem that you have now with Kamala Harris, the internals are so poor, it's now turned into, well, you can't keep hiding her. She has to start talking. And whenever she's asked to talk, things do not go well. So by the time we get to and this will be Wednesday, we'll have the Colbert Show tomorrow. Mm-hmm. We'll have Howard Stern audio on Tuesday. And then we'll have The View as well. So they're marching her out there. Like, this is a giant change to their strategy moving forward.
But the shows that she's going on are not going to challenge her. However, it doesn't matter, because if they bring up anything other than how's your mom and them, it's going to go in circles.
What's your favorite color?
Yeah, but that may even go in circles, you know? I'm not sure she'll be able to answer that question, at least effectively.
No, I mean, all colors of the rainbow are my favorite. So
exactly,
blah, blah, blah.
just not choose anything.
She gets to go to the poll testing.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, what if I say it's red?
Right.
What if I say
with
it's
the Bluetooth
blue?
earrings?
Yeah. What if it's red? Yeah. Oh, God, that would be a horrible one for her.
That would be awesome.
The reality is they're scrambling right now, and I don't know what their motive is from this point on, except for to try any way possible to get her out there. But I think where the biggest problem is what they're putting her on. The Howard Stern Show, Stephen Colbert, the View, and those. You're not going to get the people that you want.
Yeah, you're getting your own crowd.
Yeah, you're getting your own crowd. So it's almost false. They hope that social media will just pick up these clips and push it, and maybe somebody will see it, because that's the only reality that I can see. When you start to look at some of these numbers and really break down polls, it's not looking good right now for her.
So I know you're 100% right about that. They're hoping that it'll pop up on social media.
Sure.
But when it does, it's going to sound like that clip that we played from 60 Minutes, where it's just in a big, and she says nothing, and that makes her look
but it
worse
works for them.
But it doesn't for the people that they need, which is the problem.
Yeah, if you're going to show anybody that you need to reconsider your vote. I mean, I give the credit to Tim Walz. They made it a point to go march you out onto Fox News on Sunday. That didn't go great. But because, again, when you have not had any sort of challenges. Remember, this woman is the nominee without ever having to have done one debate to win the nomination. Tim Walz, the first time he's being challenged by an adversarial media was yesterday, and we are almost 3 months into a campaign.
But even that I'll give him credit on, because you know what? At least his answers, as flawed as we saw through them, I think a lot of people might hear some of the things he says and says, you know what? I see where he's coming from on this, because his answers are, even though they're a little ridiculous at times, they're still better than what Kamala Harris does. I got to give
not much, but a little.
Well, because then you start to break them down and you start to go, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. I mean, it does take some critical thinking to get through his propaganda, but once you do, you realize he's not all he's doing is anti-Trump.
Well, think about this. When he made it a point when he was asked about, the stolen valor issues, the issues of deployment, the issues of saying that he was in places that he wasn't, he basically made the point back to Shannon Bream, well, nobody cares. Nobody on your party cares.
Right.
All right. Now, and you're right. When it comes to the people that are rooting for you, they don't care.
That's right.
The problem is that the middle and the other side are the ones that are like, wait a minute, dude, you were never there. Why do you keep lying to people? You were not even in office at the highest level. Normally you save the best lies for when you're president and vice president.
Right.
And you're lying about whether you're at Tiananmen Square as a governor of Minnesota. Come on, save the best ones for when you're in big time power.
It'd be like me saying I was at the 95 World Series and knowing that I watched it from my house.
Hell with that, I was on the moon.
Well, yeah, but that too. But yeah, absolutely. But I just mean for me though, like, are there things that I couldn't mistake, and that's something you can't mistake.
No, you can't mistake it.
And I think everybody sees through it. Even people that are voting for it see through it.
Yeah, the one thing that he'll get out of it is his answers are pretty well formulated to the point where he doesn't actually answer the question. The problem that he had with Shannon Bream was basically, and I know that we're going to talk about it and play some clips, but you'll hear when we do that he never answers the question, and she calls him on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the abortion stuff here in Georgia, man. She body slams him on it. It's incredible.
All right, so I've been to a Cowboy Super Bowl.
Ooh.
I've been to a Pope visit. I've been to the NBA Finals. All right, which one's a lie?
The Pope visit.
No, it's a Cowboy Super Bowl. Let's face it. No, the Pope came through San Antonio. We did that.
No way for me to know that.
But again, like these things that you mentioned, and by and large, I mean, what's the big deal? Okay, I lied about whatever. I've been to a Cowboy Super Bowl, whatever. It's plausible. The man said he was at Tiananmen Square.
Right.
No,
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the equivalent would be like, I was in Oakland when the earthquake hit, and I just barely survived. I mean,
or I was in
the
Orlando
Super Bowl. You could believe he went all the way out there when you did.
He went to like a monumental event.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like everybody knows where they were.
Yeah. I mean, if Rhino,
I was really young, but I remember it.
If Rhino told me, he was like, "Listen, I was at the Masters in '96, and I saw Tiger do this," I'd go, "That's pretty cool."
Yeah.
All right. He's not saying he was in the World Trade Center for 9/11.
Hey, yeah.
And he's not running for vice president.
No. Right.
I mean, that's the bigger of the things. Like the person that's running for vice president, you can't trust, man. You can't take him at his word.
It's like, how big of a whopper can I tell?
Right, but
I wouldn't trust that guy as far as I could throw.
No, I saw
be a lot. But.
Great meme over the weekend, and it said J.D. Vance is the guy that would come cut your grass if it, before the HOA got onto you, and Walls would be the guy that turned you in because you hadn't cut your grass. Dude, so true, and
just
that's the way they come off.
Paintballs.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the way it comes off, is that he's just at least for me, untrustworthy. I don't know how he is with his wife and his kids. Maybe he's great. I don't know. But I just don't understand.
He does whatever his wife says.
Yeah, right, because she'll give him those crazy eyes, and he knows better to act up. But sure, he could be a great husband and father, I suppose, but I just wonder how many times, have they ever noticed that? Because if you're around somebody long enough, you kind of notice their tendencies.
Oh, yeah.
How weird would it be to be like, Daddy's always lying about things.
Daddy's always making us
like, can I give you an example? My daddy, God rest his soul, was He was the greatest.
Oh, you about to tell on him?
Yeah, I'm about to tell on him because he told me a fib.
Uh-oh.
And he told Mama it was his smoking. Yeah, Joe knows what it is.
Oh, yeah.
He told us he quit smoking, and we would find cigarette butts. Like, I mean, nobody called him on it because it was like
Those are white lies. He just cares about you. He didn't want you to worry.
Yeah, I suppose. But it would just be like, no, I'm not smoking. And then we'd find a pack of cigarettes, tucked under. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we knew, but it was detrimental to his health. Obviously, it was not good for his health. But it wasn't anything that he was trying to take advantage of us about. It was just something he was embarrassed by. Didn't want to tell people. So I caught my daddy in a lie. But I wonder how many times his family, Tim Walls' family, called him like, Daddy wasn't that to him as well.
So you're telling me that when it came to Tim Walls, nobody said, Daddy, I found your cools.
Yeah. They may. I don't know. He looks like a smoker to me.
I have a feeling they said, Daddy, I found your Playgirl magazines.
Good. Very well could be. I'm just wondering though. Just making my mind is obviously. Off the
but this is the best they can march out.
Yes.
Again, we're gonna have 48 hours of Kamala Harris now hitting all the airwaves and doing what she's going to do. And this started with, let's start with Tim. That way they can say that we took on an adversarial media.
Yeah, no.
Give us cover.
Yeah.
They saw what he did in the debate and decided at that point it was probably good for him and would be better that he took Fox News on rather than her. She would never.
Definitely.
And Trump's taking on CNN. Trump's taking on everybody, and she won't do that because she knows that she can't answer or handle it. Tim Walz can handle it. He did a good job. Now, was he full of it? Absolutely. Did he avoid every question? Yeah, but I think he did it perfectly for what they want. And again, I don't think he picks anybody up on it, but they're going to march him out for the tougher interviews. Yeah,
but that's the goal. Like you're right. I don't think he picks somebody up. And did he fall flat on his face? No. And even in the VP debate, J.D. Vance was the clear victor. We got that. But again, he's out there to pick up voters, and he's failing at that.
Yeah, he's going to fail at it. But I think they all realize that because I think there's something else in their back pocket they want.
You got a little November surprise?
Yeah. It's called drop boxes, extra ballots, people voting,
something's
whatever.
Coming. We'll continue with Tim Walz getting body slammed over the weekend on live television. We'll let you hear what happened with Shannon Bream, especially in relation to the story here in Georgia, which is an important one that the Democrats and the leftist media continue to spout untruths about. Next on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3, Tug, Rhino, and Los. Download the app so you can listen live and on demand to the discussions that we have here or any that you might miss later in the day. You can also watch on the YouTube channel. There's plenty of ways to engage with Extra 106.3.
Hey, it's Flounder, and The Kimmer Show is live every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m.
Free speech is like a pressure cooker and the valves on the pressure cooker. If you start shutting off all the places that the valves are, guess what happens?
Well, that's why we have the other amendment, like the second one, so we can keep our guns. I mean, seriously, that's what they do when they shut you up and then try to get your guns, and they'll never get to stage 2.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
Electrify your senses with user-friendly technology and earth-friendlier power. Meet the all-electric 2024 Mercedes-Benz EQE 350 sedan. Satisfying for both drivers and passengers with innovations that only Mercedes-Benz can deliver. Experience the all-electric 2024 Mercedes-Benz EQE 350 sedan today. Lease one today for just $549 per month for 36 months with $66.93 due at signing. Exclusively from RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs. Contact RBM of Atlanta for details on this vehicle and many other models. And visit today to see how to qualify. Special lease rate available only to qualified customers exclusively from Mercedes-Benz Financial Service through RBM of Atlanta, Sandy Springs through October 31st, 2024. Excludes tax, tag, title, and Georgia Lemon Law fees. Contact RBM of Atlanta for details on this and other exciting offers. Visit rbmofatlanta.com or call us at 770-390-0700 for details.
I've been with EMC Security for over 10 years, and their service and support are always fantastic. There's nothing better than a business that understands that great service earns loyalty, unlike companies that rely on contracts. Plus, their prices are unbeatable, and they're always focused on solving any issues quickly.
It's time to experience long-term satisfaction and true customer care. EMC Security, exceeding customer expectations since 1998. Visit emcsecurity.com for a free quote.
At the Piedmont Bank, we're proud to be one of Georgia's largest community banks, focusing on serving businesses and the communities they serve. With headquarters right here in Metro Atlanta, our tailored banking expertise and solutions help meet the diverse needs of our customers so they have what it takes to grow, expand, and thrive. It's what elevates us above the rest. Find a location near you at Piedmont.bank and experience elevated banking for you and your business. The Piedmont Bank. Banking elevated. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Get ready for Real Talk on the Janelle King Show, where we tackle kitchen table topics that are banned from family gatherings, but crucial for a strong republic. Tune in every Saturday at 3 p.m. and every Sunday for an encore episode at 9 a.m. And if you can catch us live, great. But if not, no worries. New podcasts drop every Tuesday on the Podcast Park right here on Extra 106.3 or wherever you get your podcast. Join us for insightful conversations that matter.
I'm Chad Pergram with the Speaker's Lobby. Lawmakers recently bestowed their highest honor on a group of black female scientists and mathematicians known as NASA's Hidden Figures. They received the plaudits for their contributions to space exploration. Katherine Johnson, Mary Jackson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Christine Darden received the distinction for helping develop the space program during the space race. While working at a segregator department at NASA's Langley Research Center, the four women were known as human computers for their mathematical abilities. They calculated projections for key projects, including the 1969 Apollo 11 mission, which allowed the U.S. to first land on the moon. Johnson also played a key role in helping astronaut and future Democratic Ohio Senator John Glenn become the first American to orbit the Earth in 1962. Glenn didn't trust orbital calculations done by a computer, so he requested that Johnson run the computations by hand. The book Hidden Figures and movie chronicled the women's experiences and the discrimination they overcame. With the Speaker's Lobby, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. This hour is presented by Van Sant Law, vansantlaw.com.
It's been 1 year. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. As the Hamas terror attack in Israel that triggered the war in Gaza.
There are 7 Americans still being held, including my son.
Yahya Alexander at a demonstration in New York City demanding a ceasefire deal to bring hostages home. There are still 101 of them held in Gaza, though Israel says 36 of them are dead and confirming another one this morning who died.
Here we are a full year later on October 7th, and the threat from Hamas in Gaza into southern Israel and also here in central Israel continues.
Fox's Nate Foy in Tel Aviv, where sirens have wailed, warning of more Hamas rocket attacks in Gaza today, where the war rages. Palestinians say more than 40,000 people have died in the conflict.
Meanwhile, in Lebanon, an Israeli airstrike hit a Hezbollah weapons facility overnight. The ground offensive also continues in southern Lebanon, and Hezbollah continues firing rockets and projectiles into northern Israel.
Vice President Harris's Democratic running mate Tim Walz tells Fox News Sunday they stand with Israel.
It's Iran is at the heart of this, and their proxies that bring disruption throughout the region.
Former President Trump maintains if he's not elected, Israel could be destroyed. And he said at a rally in Wisconsin,
"We're all going to win together. It's going to be the greatest win in the history of our country. I believe that."
They're prepping for another hurricane on Florida's Gulf Coast. Milton, already a Category 2 storm and forecast to get a lot stronger before a midweek hit.
There will be voluntary and mandatory evacuations in effect in a number of communities throughout the state of Florida.
As Governor Ron DeSantis says salvage and recovery and search and rescue continue after Hurricane Helene hit. Western North Carolina remains devastated. President Biden has sent hundreds more active duty troops to help FEMA and the National Guard, but Republicans are critical of the storm response. Senator Ted Budd tells Fox,
"It was too slow from the Biden and the governor, and we needed rapid response."
At least 230 deaths confirmed. America's listening to Fox News.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Jerry Paget, the second enlisted in the U.S. Navy and deployed multiple times to Iraq and Afghanistan until Jerry was catastrophically injured in an improvised explosive device blast. Now, Jerry received a new smart home thanks to our friends at the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Now, the home is in the foundation's Let Us Do Good Village. It's in Florida, and Jerry now lives more independently thanks to the specially adaptive technologies. Commit to $11 a month, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org.
Start your mornings the right way with Doug, Rhino, and Los on the Morning Extra. Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station is Extra 106.3.
Today we mark the terrible day that will be seared in our memories forever in October 7th. It is straight up good versus evil when it comes to what happened in Israel on October 7th a year ago. So that'll be a lot of the discussion today, as you might imagine. And then the fears of a second hurricane in Hurricane Milton and the way that this thing is taking shape, guys, it looks like it's going to hit as at least a category 3.
4. 3, 4.
Up to 4, yeah.
Yeah, they say that by the time it hits landfall, it could be a category 4 again. Hopefully, it will lose strength by the time it gets there. This time, though, it will not travel because of the way the air pressure is setting up, that it'll just travel across Florida's top part and through. But that doesn't mean there won't be tons of damage, tons of rain. Again, that even South Georgia can't withstand any of the bands if it is a category 4. We saw how big those bands were with Helene. How big are they going to be with this as well?
Well, Tampa already took a crazy amount of storm surge, 10 days ago.
Yeah.
And so now they're, right in line to get hit with this thing as it goes across the state of Florida. This is why when you ever had Governor DeSantis declare state of emergency, here are the counties this is going to affect. He's already appealing for federal funds. He's already trying to get everything locked and loaded. It's because they know how to handle this stuff. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean it's going to be easy.
No, definitely not. I mean, and the crazy thing is that he's actually been a more effective person on the ground in Western North Carolina and East Tennessee than FEMA has been. And he's not even the governor of the state. He's not the president. And yet his ability to lead is on display on a national scale. So nothing but respect for the governor of Florida, man. He's going to do everything the right way. It's that military man that he is, and just just the person he is, man. He's top of the line. There's no doubt about it. The future is bright for the Republican Party.
Well, everything is just
J.D. Vance
legislating. It's all right. Here's the plan. Here's how we're going to carry it out. It's, as we talked about it, he's surgical in everything he does.
Right.
Mm-hmm. There's no, well, let's put the finger up and see which way the wind is blowing. Let's see how this goes. It's just, here's what we need to do. Let's go get it done. In a very militaristic fashion.
And not only that, he understands what he's able to do or what he's allowed to do based on what the government is inside the law. Exactly. So he's doing it by the books, but he also knows, hey, which resources that somebody else wouldn't think of, what can we go do? So when it came to the port situation and going, we need to get all this to the people here in Florida and even, in Georgia and North Carolina as well. We need to be able to get that from these ports. I'm going to go ahead and get the National Guard. I'm going to get the State Guard. I know that I have the authority to do that. And that's why it's more important to have a leader like that.
And it was just, a week later? A week now it's been with Hurricane Helene. Mm-hmm. And we're just now getting, some of the National Guardsmen.
Yeah.
I mean, that Joe Biden's activated, and you're like, dude, what?
Yeah.
What have you been waiting? You knew. I mean, first of all, you knew it was coming.
They're waiting for backlash, right? I mean, what they're doing is with every one of these events throughout the past 4 years, they deal with the black backlash, what the polls look like, because they're playing for power. They're not playing because they care about the American people. What they're doing is, how do we leverage everything for votes? This is going bad. Let's change our policy ideas on that and go this route. So hopefully the news will give us a break.
So I had a friend of mine, him and his wife, they loaded up. They've got a company, and they decided to head to North Carolina. And they brought supplies. And by the time they got there, the surprising part was that they talked about how there were so much help but it was all non-government.
Oh, yeah. No, there's no doubt about it. That's been
that
the
it was
all
a
weekend.
ton of help around for people. And when people go through this stuff, they have a hard time asking for help because, yeah, you might need to help get a couch out of the house. Your neighbor down the road doesn't have a house, and so it feels weird to ask for help with this stuff. But that was their deal. They were like, we got there. It's like, and outside of donating some water and some fuel and stuff along those lines, it's like they had all their equipment. It wasn't needed because independent organizations that were private organizations were all in these areas. The government, nowhere to be found.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if y'all saw the videos that Glenn Beck was doing this weekend.
Yeah.
And it was just like the one that stands out to me the most. It was like a FEMA truck, and they're in a parking lot. Mm-hmm. And Beck was like, well, why do you have the truck way back here so nobody can see the truck? They don't even know. I mean, people were wondering, where do I go for my $750? Or if I can even get to FEMA, where do I go? And so the truck is way back off, away from the main road, so nobody can even tell that it's there. And Beck points it out, and this lady gives this just roundabout, sound like Kamala Harris a little bit, this roundabout answer that made no sense. And Beck finally just was like, so the people that need to see you can't see you, and you're going to leave the truck here in the back of the parking lot? Yeah. And they're like, yeah, why? What's the problem? Yes, I mean, it's just the incompetence is unbelievable.
Glenn Beck brought this up. He talked about how what they've been basically running is a mobile field hospital, but more along the lines of, if you need insulin, come over here. If you need different medical supplies, we'll supply it, because if you're not able to get to a hospital because it's 5 miles down the road and there's no way to do it, you can pick up stuff here. And he talked about how FEMA rolled in and tried to shut them down because they didn't have a license. Yeah. And he said it was the locals who said, you need to go.
Yeah.
Basically, the locals kind of gave the guy the, hey, I listen here, federal man, move your ass on.
Yeah, I mean, I was, a little bit in southern Georgia this weekend and dealing with people who, work for the government and work for, or understand what's going on in Valdosta. And the one thing that I continually heard is they're actually being forgotten about more than anyone else, because obviously, and they, the great thing about people is they go, well, what we're dealing with is probably not even as bad as what's happening there. And in reality, it is as bad, or it is bad. But one of the things they kept saying is the same thing that Glenn Beck said, that people who were coming in and just dropping off trucks, even outside of the zones that they were told they can't come in, well, here's the water. And FEMA and the ones that are in charge are saying, yeah, well, you can't have it. And she's like, no, you can have it. Just give it to someone. Give it to someone who needs it. We can't take it. We can't take it. That's the ridiculousness of what's happening here. But these people don't have answers. We've done such a bad job in this country of finding people and giving them the jobs, knowing that they were able to handle them. Instead, we're just playing a popularity contest and putting people in because of, whatever it is. They're DEI hires, they're whatever they may be. They're not actually ready to take on this responsibility.
Well, they found themselves a very cush job. Mm-hmm. And that's typically what it is. And what it's been for the better part of 3.5 years has been, all right, listen, we have some people that have crossed the border. We have some people that we've brought in from other countries. All right, make sure you settle them. And that's been your job. So what happens when real devastation occurs to somewhere? Well, you know what? You park the truck in an area where nobody can really see you, and then you tell everybody, well, hey, if you show up to the truck, we'll register you for federal benefits. Okay, like that's their mentality.
Yeah.
When real stuff happens.
Yeah, it's always this bureaucratic layers of nonsense that you have to jump through. They're like, if you'll go to the website, well, I don't have a house or a computer, and my phone has been dead for 3 days.
It all over television.
I know, right? We have no electricity.
I don't have a living room. What do you mean?
It's nuts. But I want you to hear.
We mailed it to you.
Yeah,
I don't have a house or a mailbox. Okay.
And nobody can get down the roads because they don't exist anymore. But I want you to hear from Corinne Jean-Pierre. What she said about FEMA and what they're using funds for. The first cut you'll hear is from October of 2024, this month. And then it'll go back 2 years ago to September of 2022 when she contradicts herself.
It's just categorically full. No, Biden did not take FEMA relief money to use on migrants. So FEMA regional administrators have been meeting with city officials on site to coordinate available federal support from FEMA and other federal agencies. Funding is also available through FEMA's Emergency Food and Shelter Program to eligible local governments and non-for-profit organizations upon request to support humanitarian relief for migrants.
Oh,
I'm sorry, say that again.
We're not doing it. Oh, yes, we are.
But we do have it
yes, exactly.
available.
So that's the thing that should irritate the daylights out of people is that they're using money, federal money, to house migrants, and especially in big cities like New York and Los Angeles, it's happening over and over and over again. And then when they called on it, they're like, "Oh, well, it's a different part of the money. It's this money's meant for this, and this is meant for hurricane relief." You know, they act like they put it in different buckets.
The comedy of all of this is that when you bring this up, and they go, "Well, you don't understand. We don't have enough money to get through hurricane season." Like, well, where did it go?
Yeah.
Oh, it turns out it's with the SS&P program, the Shelter and Services program. Whoa, that's where all your money went, so that when we actually have a disaster, because again, the border's not a disaster, right? I mean, according to them, right? It's all organized, but they treated it as a disaster. We have to bring these people across. We have to do what we're going to do. Now suddenly, Florida is going to be the next place where they're going to be looking around going, "What do you mean I get a $750 check?"
If they get that at this point. But we have to look back, because go back as far as you want. Alejandro Mayorkas is in charge of the border. He's in charge of FEMA. He's in charge of immigration. These are the things that you have to look at and go, wait, why is he tied up in all this? Because I can go back and pull things from when Marjorie Taylor Greene and other responsible representatives were calling for the impeachment of Mayorkas, talking about using the funding that they're supposed to be holding on to in order to take care of any kind of emergencies or climate. And you'd think that the Democrats who sit and scream and cry climate change all the time would say, hey, listen, we have a bunch of storms. We can't just be giving this to people who don't belong here. We need to take care of the American people. When the money is needed, we need to have it. But see, Democrats don't really care about the American people. Otherwise, they would have come up with that plan. This is why Mayorkas should have been impeached. This is not new. They've been talking about giving this money and the aid, humanitarian aid, to these immigrants for over 3 years.
404-741-1230. Bailey Canton, what's up?
Hey, man. Just like we have a two-tiered justice system, we have a two-tiered information system, and we all know how the left lies. So if things do start going right in Carolina, the people who already know that the government wasn't there, i.e. getting their news from conservative, truthful outlets, they'll already know. But it won't affect the left, because CNN's going to lie, and they'll just claim that they did it. And those people won't know any different. They won't change their path. They'll still vote left.
That's right about that, man.
Yeah.
Billy's not wrong.
Well,
because the information is filtered through 96% of a leftist point of view.
Not only that, we also realize that the people who have been affected by the storm and the counties that they live in and who they voted for in the past don't concern the left, because they know now there's a good chance that within the next 30 days, none of these people should or think or can be thinking about voting. And let's be honest. I mean, as much as I'd love them to vote, and I'm sure that there are going to be some people who are so patriotic, regardless of what side they're going to vote for, will get to the polls and will get their votes in. Hopefully they'll work to be able to get them the absentee ballots and get them signed up and sent in one way or another. But I don't think these people, maybe it'll energize some people who didn't feel like they got the help from the Harris-Walz administration, that they will go ahead and make sure that they do vote against them. But chances are these people in these red counties can't vote.
Let me tell you, when you have this situation happens to you, the politics always goes out the window. So I have a friend of mine, and she's, I'd say left-leaning for the most part, as long as I've known her. And I ended up texting her last night just being, hey, how's your family? She talked about how her parents were basically without power. They just got it back on, that they do have a well on their property, so they do have water.
That's good news.
And then she talked about her sister has 3 inches of water in her basement. And so they considered that lucky that they were able to just get by with that. Sure. But she finished it off by saying, weird, I thought a $750 loan should do it. Even she is hearing about what's going on when her family are asking for federal help and being told, here's what you get. and they're sitting back. And again, 3 inches of water in the basement, you say, okay, cool, you still got the house. All right, that's thousands of dollars in damage for a lot of people. And I believe the number that was given out that I read over the weekend, I had a couple of people talk about to me who were in the area. There's only maybe 2 to 5% of people there because they live on a mountain who have flood insurance.
That's exactly right, dude. All that's so true. I posted on social media, and I don't usually post. It's just not my everyday thing to do. But I did, and I said, when it comes to paying taxes, I'm just going to send them $750 and tell them I got no more to send. And, dude, you should have seen the Lefty Looney Tunes go crazy bonkers over that. Dude, I had so many people linking me to FEMA, and I have a friend in Asheville says everything's going just fine.
I saw that.
And
Aunt Peg reported you, by the way. I saw that
kidding.
too.
No kidding.
I caught a strike over the weekend.
Did you?
Yeah, it's because I called an idiot a mongoloid.
Oh.
I went old school, like Down syndrome joke, and apparently that was used to make fun of Asian people. Weird that I'm Asian. That apparently that was some derogatory term from back in the day. And I was like, I didn't mean the Asian version. I meant the idiot version.
Goodness gracious.
So I caught one over the weekend.
Did they? What did they say?
They sent me a little thing about what my tweet was.
Did they take it down, or
they said it was like throttled back or whatever it was that they sent you? Yeah.
I want you to hear from.
But he is a mongoloid.
So is Tim Walls.
He's listen. He's breathing through his mouth. He has a hard time understanding logic.
Yeah.
Tim Walls, I wanted you to hear him get body slammed by Shannon Bream on Fox News Sunday when it comes to what's happening here in Georgia as far as abortion, because Tim Walls stepped into it trying to say that the Georgia heartbeat bill is what killed a mother, and it couldn't be further from the truth. Listen to this.
Now, look, they may see this as an election issue. We see it as a right of women to make their own bodily decisions. And that's what the states like my state have the ability to put that in. States like Georgia force women to cross the border, and then we have a death of Amber Thurman. So let's be very clear. Trying to cut hairs on an issue on this is not where the American public's at. They want the restoration of Roe versus Wade. Vice President Harris said she would sign it. That's what we'll do when we're elected.
But to be clear, the Minnesota law is far beyond Roe v. Wade. And about the Amber Thurman case in Georgia, her family has, and it's tragic, she is a young mother who left behind a young son. But what her family has said is it was a complication from an abortion pill that she received, and she didn't get proper care when she went to a Georgia hospital, which had multiple opportunities to intervene there. Her own attorney, the family's attorney, says it wasn't the Georgia law, it was the hospitals. What he claims is malpractice, not treating her when she clearly showed up in distress and still had the byproducts of her pregnancy because of that rare complication from the abortion pill. So just to be clear on the Georgia law and how her family and her attorney sees it.
Bam!
Yeah, that's too much for
Smack down.
But that's the important part about ProPublica, which is a BS, leftist organization. I mean, 4 weeks ago, I brought this up, but the AJC covered it up. The mainstream media's covered it up. Everyone else.
Everybody
so good for her because, a lot of people here in Georgia are saying, hold on one second. This is a drug.
Everybody knows better.
Yeah, everybody knows better, except for the left, apparently. And they're going to run with this, and they're going to run with it. The truth of the matter is every woman has the right to make their own choices and make the fact for their health. The first choice you can make is protection. And again, if you're not going to protect yourself, then maybe you abstain. If you're 26 years old and you don't want to have children and you've already said that, you're not married, there's no reason for it, you want to concentrate on school, maybe you should think there's no reason for Amber Thurman to be dead today. She should never have been given those pills without any kind of medical oversight or any doctor's care. I mean, that's the reality of it. They want to play this issue. They have nothing else. It's an emotional issue. They can't talk about the economy or the border.
It's easy to pretend that Tim Walls is ignorant. He's not. He's lying to you to play on your emotions. That's what he was doing there. He played that game in hopes that somebody out there went, yeah, that sounds bad. They're probably pretty barbaric there in Georgia. No, we're just doing what the rest of the country is doing. What's barbarism is what's happening in Minnesota with no restrictions on abortion. Up until the day they're born, you can get rid of a kid.
Which is on the books.
And as Bream brought it up, it goes well beyond Roe versus Wade. Right. Roe versus Wade in 1973 had restrictions based on time.
Minnesota, on the other hand, does not. When we come back, Joe Biden secretly despises Kamala Harris and is actively trying to sabotage her campaign. But let you hear Joe in his own words. It is so good. Next on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3.
The party that's been screaming the most about election interference from the Russians is wanting millions of people to cross the border legally and vote in our elections.
That's right. The Kimmer Show every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
All right, look, we've had Hurricane Helene. We've had a chemical plant fire. We've got port strikes. We've got Iranian attacks. What do those recent events mean to you? Well, it tells you how critical it is to be prepared in case of any kind of an emergency. That's what it tells you. And panic buying. Look what people are doing. Going out, buying all the toilet paper, buying as much water as they can. People who don't even need it. Well, you know what happens when those shortages happen on some products? Well, True Prep still has that inventory. They still have everything that you need on hand, and they've always got more arriving soon in case. But don't wait until these kind of disasters strike. Prepare today for this worry-free tomorrow that we talk about, whether it's freeze-dried food. And I'm telling you right now, they've only got a few left of those Harvest Right freeze dryers. They're great products that you can actually freeze-dry your leftovers. If you go out for dinner, you can bring it back, freeze dry it for up to 30 years. Start looking at them because they only have a few left, and I don't know if they're going to bring back more, but they'll always be able to get them for you. True Prep's knowledgeable staff is there to assist. Matt, Joey, Amy, and all the experts. Go visit them. And if you're new to it and you're not sure where to start, they even have workshops for you. So visit trueprep.com. That's TRUprep.com. Prepare today for a worry-free tomorrow with True Prep.
Hey sandwich lovers, today's your lucky day. There's a whole new way to roll for lunch or dinner delight with Nucky's Hoagies in the Roswell Corners Shopping Center. Now open. Nucky's Hoagies in Roswell is family owned and operated by the Sub Sisters, Stacy and Shannon, whose love language is food and Nucky's Hoagies, their passion. When you bite into a Nucky's Hoagie, you'll taste the difference. The softest hoagie rolls ever, along with hunger-quenching sandwich combinations. Make Nucky's Hoagies in Roswell on Woodstock Road your new favorite spot for lunch or dinner.
Hi, this is Ben.
And I'm Walt from Horizon Background Screening. There are two ways that we generally help businesses. First, as they're going through the hiring process with people, help them to find the criminal history. If somebody's on the sex offender registry, needless to say, most companies need to screen those people out. If they're going to be driving a vehicle, if they're going to be in people's houses, we need to make sure that we understand what their history is to protect your company and to protect your clients, but also to protect your employees.
Our pre-employment background checks, FCRA compliant. We're going to make sure you stay good with the EEOC, all those kind of things. Our PI stuff is going to be a little bit different. We can dig a little bit deeper. We have different avenues, and we can get into kind of the weeds of things, which on those kind of cases we want to do. 25 plus years, we've just been blessed with growth and have basically become a nationwide provider of both pre-employment background checks and private investigative services.
The best way for people to find us is on our website. A quick Google search of Horizon Background Screening or look at us at horizonscreening.com.
If you notice any cracks in your foundation, they are not going to go away. They need to be addressed as soon as possible to reduce additional costs that come with repair. Ramjack is the best company in the industry for repairing your foundation. We have the highest quality products in the nation. So, if you are experiencing foundation problems, please contact us at ramjack.com/Atlanta or call us at 770-502-8881. That's 770-502-8881.
Hi, it's Glenn Beck, and I saw a statistic recently that jumped out at me. In 2017, home equity grew by a staggering $908 billion in America. That represents a 12% increase year over year. For most Americans, home equity is the biggest chunk of their personal wealth. At realestateagentsitrust.com, we see adult children who seek our help and sell their parents' homes. Often, the home is in a distant city and the condition of the home can be poor. And of course, our agents at realestateagentsitrust.com go above and beyond to help those families sell these homes, and that's a great feeling for everybody involved, including us. But it makes me wonder if there might be a better way. Have you considered looking at the equity you have in your home? It might be smart to sell now and downsize and have that equity to enjoy your golden years. If so, I urge you to go to realestateagentsitrust.com and let one of our agents see what might be possible by leveraging the equity in your home. realestateagentsitrust.com. That's realestateagentsitrust.com.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Monday, October 7th. Douglas County deputies responded to a burglary call in the St. Andrews Country Club neighborhood early Friday morning. Deputies found that Aubrey Horton had entered a home and was then shot and fatally wounded by the homeowner in what the Sheriff's Department is calling an act of self-defense. The Atlanta Police Department confirmed that Aubrey Horton was an investigator with the fugitive unit and was off duty at the time of the shooting. Investigator Horton had been honored as Officer of the Year just a few days earlier. Today is the last day to register to vote in the state of Georgia. You can register online at the Georgia Secretary of State's office or register by mail, phone, or in person at a local election office. Here are some important things to know if you plan on registering today. You must have a valid ID, be a U.S. citizen, and be a legal resident in the county where you are registering. Early voting in the state begins on October 15th and ends on November 1st. And if your commute involves MARTA, passengers on the Gold Line should be aware that the trains will be skipping the Brookhaven station for the next 6 weeks as renovations begin on the station's platforms. During the renovations, MARTA will provide shuttle bus service to Lenox Station to the south and Chamblee Station to the north. Construction is expected to last until November 15th.
We're going to get to the fact that we're 29 days away from the election in just a second. I've got some dates that I've pulled that will kind of line up with what we're about to do here in America again. Fascinating. But I wanted to go back to the story that Rhino told about the break-in, because I was reading this weekend about a 36-year-old man who just got 22 months in jail for breaking into a woman's house while she wasn't home. This dude didn't steal her TV, didn't take her computers, didn't, trash the house. You know what he did? This dude broke into this woman's house and did all of her chores. I mean, what kind of crazy person is that? I'm not kidding.
That's me.
Hung the laundry out to dry, put the groceries away, emptied the recycling, tidied up the garden, refilled the bird feeders, organized the refrigerators, mopped the floor, put out a bottle of wine, cooked dinner, and left a note that said, "Don't worry, be happy, eat up." They figured out who this person was, and they've arrested him. I got to tell you, he may be crazy because that sounds crazy.
Absolutely.
But if somebody's going to break in my house, damn it, I want them to do all that.
Do that. Yeah. Finish the bathrooms, too, while you're there.
Please.
Yeah, if you can do that,
that's not going well.
At first I was waiting for it was her mother.
Yeah, no.
I could see like a family member who's sick and tired of the way you're living or not being clean, like breaking into your house and doing that.
Yeah, no.
But like a stranger, that's so weird.
Yeah,
that's awesome though.
Because when our house was broken into one time about 15 years ago, they took exactly what you thought: TVs, computers, gaming systems, all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, why couldn't our break-in be more like this one? Even if he's crazy, I'll take that over losing all my stuff.
Mm-hmm. So it's been about 14 years since our next door neighbors, and they're great people, they invited us over to a Christmas party, and it was like, ugly sweater party. We'd been living there for, 4 days. They'd been in their house for 6 months. And I think they still talk about it. It's like 2:30 in the morning, and I just start cleaning. and cleaning and cleaning.
They're thinking you're crazy.
And they were like, he's the greatest person to bring to a party ever. Not only is he wildly intoxicated, but he's cleaning up the entire party.
Dude, I love that. I love it. Just that when Rhino was talking about the break-in, it just reminded me of that story that I read. So thought I'd share it with you because it's just nuts. Dude got 22 months for that. Most people aren't prosecuted at all for breaking crimes.
Yeah.
Or committing crimes. This dude getting 22 months for helping somebody out.
That's so weird and funny.
29 days away from the election. What will happen? Well, I hope you get your friends and family out to vote, but I'll just take you back to some notable November 5th dates. In 1940, that's when Franklin D. Roosevelt was the first and only president of the United States to be elected a third time. In 1968, Nixon was elected, and in 1996, Bill Clinton reelected. Will we have a reelection this time around? This November 5th, will Donald Trump be reelected? And gosh, I certainly hope that's the case. But I'm always fascinated by the way dates fall, and I don't know why it fascinates me, but it does.
Yeah, it is weird the way, excuse me, everything kind of falls in place. But I think more important than ever right now is getting people registered, ready to go, and making sure that they get out there and vote. Today's the last day to register to vote. So I know that a lot of people all around Georgia are starting to energize and make sure that everybody gets in there. So make sure that you do it if you're listening to this station.
Please do, for sure. Kamala Harris has really tried to separate herself from Joe Biden. I'm not Joe Biden. You know, she said that over and over and over again. But Joe Biden came out and tied her to everything that he's done.
This was an act of, I'm still angry about this entire coup. Because remember, Joe Biden went from having, it's now been vilified and pointed out that it was actually legitimate, a medical emergency in Las Vegas, sent to Delaware, hidden away for 8 days. We were told COVID, remember? Mm-hmm. And then suddenly, through no announcement of his own outside of a typed email, okay, I'm not going to seek to be elected again as president. And then suddenly we get the tweet after that within an hour and a half. And I back Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
All right. To me, it was, Joe, you're doing all of this stuff. And then he decided, and this is what I'll do.
Right. And you'll have no repercussion against me there.
And you'll have no way to take care of this. So take a listen. Kamala Harris is in Michigan, and she's underwater in Michigan right now. 1 to 2 points. That's a state she's not supposed to be losing, yet she's behind there. Take a listen as Kamala Harris is she's right in the middle of, I'm having a rally, I'm talking to people of Michigan, and Joe Biden out of nowhere decides to go meet with the press and tell them this.
Clearly, I am not Joe Biden.
I'm in constant contact with her. She's aware we're singing from the same song sheet. She helped pass all the laws that are being employed now. She was a major player in everything we've done, including passage of legislation which we were told we could never pass. And so she's been, and her staff is interlocked with mine in terms of all the things we're doing.
Clearly, I am not Joe Biden.
Everything you don't like, she was right there with me.
And I love the dings. To denote everyone, because when you first hear it, it almost sounds like somebody's blowing up his phone.
Right.
Kamala's people are like, "What are you doing?
What are you doing?"
The text is just coming. It's like Alabama fans over the weekend getting the text after Alabama lost.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
I have a feeling they threw all their phones in a lake somewhere. Yeah. The Alabama fans, at least. But yeah, look, this is a reality that I think everybody already understands. That Joe Biden's policies are not even his policies; they're all the policies of somebody else, and they're doing the bidding of those people. Neither one of them have the sense to actually come up with any of the policy, but she is attached to it all. And that's the important part about it, that not only are you going to get 4 more years of disaster when it comes to the border and the economy, but you're actually going to get 4 worse years with someone who wasn't even really, I mean, they could say what they want, but she was just part of that and backing him up, but had no idea about policy. And when we played that cut earlier about her talking about things, you could just see she has no idea what's going on.
But he made it a point. Oh, she's talking right now? Well, I'll go talk.
That's right.
And I'll tie her right to this. That man has spent the better part of 2 months not saying a word. Showed up over at the convention, got through that, and now he's decided. And this is where I was wrong. I was wrong when I said he has always been a narcissist politician, and it's going to be about him, and they're going to have to pry the nomination out of his cold, dead hand. Well, they found a way to do it anyway. And then you still got the narcissist politician at the end where he's like, oh, by the way, since you pried this out of my kind of cold, dead hand, I'm going to find a way to mess with you guys on this.
See, I as much as I agree with that, I also disagree with it, because I don't think he thinks his policies or the ideas of what they've done is bad. I really don't. I think he thinks, and I don't think he's mentally there to think all of this through. I think he thinks the Inflation Reduction Act was great.
That's what they've told him.
Of course.
And he's got dementia, so he doesn't know.
So he thinks, okay, that's a winning thing. So Kamala Harris, I want her to win, so I'm going to say, hey, she's doing all this. So I think, unknowingly, he is destroying her by attaching her because his economy is bad and all of that. He's bringing her in saying, yep, she was in the room for this. He thinks the Afghanistan withdrawal was fine. He thinks the economy's fine. He thinks the way the border's been handled is fine. So why not attach him? Because he thinks those are winning strategies. He thinks the Infrastructure Act was also great.
You're going to find this out 6 months, a year down the road, that he was so upset. Because remember, who hates Kamala Harris? Jill Biden does.
Jill Biden despises.
Jill. Who's calling this? Who's
and
calling
Hillary.
the action?
And Hillary.
Jill.
Telling
Yeah,
you.
and Hillary too.
This is all calculated as far as we're going to play nice for the time being.
Yeah.
And then when we get the opportunity, and this is when Kamala is clearly behind in the polls, losing in Michigan. She goes to talk in Michigan. Let's go ahead and just drop an extra little pin into that Zeppelin and just watch it go.
Like a balloon.
Now, I will say what gives Carlos credence is why, if there's a cabinet meeting, didn't you call Kamala Harris in to run it rather than Jill Biden?
And by the way, why did it take this long? He hasn't been in front of the media in terms of a press conference.
And this just out of the blue.
In the better part of the year.
Well, he's been dealing with Helene from the beach. He hasn't had time.
He's been on the phone 2 hours.
Yeah, that 2 hours that was allotted from 4 to 6 p.m., that's it.
And by the way, and he goes out to do something that is decidedly problematic for Kamala Harris.
It does. There's a lot of dots to connect for sure. Now, the relationship with Donald Trump and Brian Kemp has been, we'll call it rocky, to say the least. I mean, they have not really gotten along, and there's been a lot of tug of war and back and forth. But this weekend, your governor is doing a fantastic job. We are with him. That is Donald Trump talking about Governor Kemp at a disaster relief center in Columbia County. It's I don't buy that they're best friends, and they don't have to be best friends.
Nor should they.
They know they have to work together, and they're doing that. That's what it appears to me.
Listen, I'll have politicians within party fight all the time. That means there's conversations happening, right? That means things are going in the right direction. I don't want to be like the left, where even when someone's wrong on something, you stand up for it until there's backlash politically, and then you go, oh, yeah, well, no, that was wrong, blah, blah, blah. I'd rather have you fighting inside. Now, some of you may not agree about the fight between Trump and Kemp, but the reality is you're going to fight. The important part is watch when they come together and what they come together for. They're not coming together right now just to win an election. They're coming together for the people of Georgia.
Which is bigger and more important.
Which is way more important. And the reality of it is this. Georgia, and, they're not going to get the same coverage as you're going to get from Western Carolina right now, and probably for good reason. That Asheville and those areas were completely destroyed, and I think even the people of Valdosta are looking and go and help them first.
Yeah.
But the reality is, so many people in southern Georgia and all the counties were affected by this. And the one thing that Trump's doing with Kemp that's not being really covered is the fact of the matter is him being here brings attention to people who need help.
That's exactly right, which is the most important because they're not getting it from the federal government.
Well, what did the federal government tell you? That they're only giving a certain amount of counties, not all the counties that were affected by this. And this is the same problem. And you're not going to get it unless you have someone like Trump coming down here to raise awareness.
But the lefty loonies, they'll tell you that everything is perfect, being handled to a T in Western North Carolina. That's what I was told over the weekend.
Yeah.
I remember reading it going, hang on, am I reading this right?
From my experience and from talking to the people that have been through there, can't find the federal government.
Yeah, well, they're parked in the back of a parking lot somewhere and nobody can see them.
You find a whole lot of people that rolled into the region to help out, a lot of private citizens. You ain't going to find government.
And then the bureaucracy of you got to do this and you got to do that, and then we'll give you this and we'll fill out the paperwork, and then you got to submit it, and then you got to get on the internet, and then you got to watch it on TV. It's just the web is so odd. And as Los has told you, because he's been through it, if you have personal insurance, they're going to deny you. And that happened over and over and over. That was the conversation all weekend that I kept seeing pop up on social media was, we've tried. We're not getting help because we have insurance.
Do you have insurance? Yes, I do. Okay, well,
Denied.
There's no help coming your way.
Denied. Because you were able to do the right thing and chose to do the right thing. Imagine that. If the teleprompter goes out, one of the candidates running for president cannot function. I'll let you stew for just a minute, figuring out who that might be. We'll tell you if you can't figure it out next. On the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3.
Mike, the engineer, says, based on the yard signs he's seeing, Kamala will finish third behind Donald Trump in garage sale.
I hope.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Real Success. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at ourrealsuccess.com.
Do you want to learn how to make money flipping houses and acquiring rental properties right here in Atlanta? We're offering a handful of motivated individuals the opportunity to attend our workshop right here in Atlanta for free. That's right. We'll give you 2 free tickets when you text FREE to 64,000. Atlanta is the perfect market to flip houses and build rental income. Discover the simple steps developed by Joe Arias, one of real estate's greatest rags to riches stories. You'll learn to flip properties and secure rental properties without using your own money and in your spare time. Don't miss this opportunity. Come to a complimentary live 2-hour workshop next week right here in Atlanta and learn how to start making money flipping homes and building long-term wealth with rental properties. To get 2 free tickets, text FREE to 64,000. Text in the next 10 minutes, and registrants will also receive a free copy of our Funding for Deals guide. Text FREE to 64,000 for 2 complimentary tickets. Text FREE to 64,000.
Millions of guys suffer from erectile dysfunction. That's 1 in 4 men. And I can tell you, I'm one of them.
If you or someone you know suffer from ED, Peyronie's disease, or PE, here's 38-year emergency room doctor and founder of Total Body Therapy of Georgia, Dr. Eric Deal.
Patients who enter my office are often frustrated, hopeless, depressed, and embarrassed. I understand the problem, and I'm going to help you fix it. There are lots of competitors that don't have the credentials that I have. When you go to other clinics, you're not going to see a board-certified physician with the experience that I have. When you come to our clinic, you're going to see me. There's just not one therapy that can solve these complex issues. I'll do a complete history and physical prior to any treatment that we use. Take it from me, Dr. Deal. When it's not hard, it's really hard.
Call Dr. Deal for your free one-on-one evaluation and resolve your ED, Peyronie's, or PE issues. Total Body Therapy of Georgia, 404-777-1911, 404-777-1911, online at stopmyed.com.
I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but the cold air is coming fast. That means a couple different things to me and you. Energy bills will be rising and company coming over for the holidays. Dan Watkins here with all 4 Seasons garage, entry doors, and windows. It's time to get your house ready for the winter air and your holiday visitors. The good news is that we have you covered for every opening in your home. So call us today to set up a free estimate with one of our amazing sales consultants. They'll help you pick out the perfect garage door, front door, and windows for your home.
Braves Country Baseball and Softball Association offers ball players the unique opportunity to learn new skills through official Braves Clinic curriculum while getting closer to their favorite team than ever before. Braves Clinics will consist of nonstop fun with an emphasis on teamwork, attitude, and healthy competition. The unique baseball and softball programs will help players ages 6 to 12 of all abilities develop on and off the field. Visit Braves.com/clinics to see locations and sign up for fall clinics today. Atlanta Braves Baseball. We are Braves Country.
What's up, Atlanta? It's Ben Burnett, host of the Weekend Ben Burnett Show. Each and every weekend, right here on Extra 106.3, we unpack all the week's events. We talk about all the issues with a local Atlanta-based flavor. You can catch me each and every weekend, Saturdays at 2 and Sundays at noon. If you ever miss an episode, you can go to the podcast park or wherever you download all of your content, and I'll be right there. Thanks for listening to the Ben Burnett Show, proudly brought to you by Butler Snow.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
The Morning Extra has you covered until 10 a.m. Then it's Glenn Beck, Clay Travis, and Buck Sexton at noon, and the Kimmer Show taking over at 3, only on Extra 106.3.
The one thing that Donald Trump does not struggle with is having something to say. He's always got something to say. Now, Whether it's perfectly on message, whether he's got a teleprompter or not, it does not matter. He is going to have something to say, and some people will like it and some people will hate it. The exact opposite happens with Kamala Harris.
I think Donald Trump really looks forward to the point where, all right, I'm going off prompter. And I'm just going to speak extemporaneously. And I think part of his staff goes, oh, no, here we go. Like, you just don't know what's going to come out of that man's mouth. Again, I've said it before. He's like 60% politician at this point, 30% entertainer, 10% stand-up comedian. Like, he's going to say something where you go, ooh, did that bomb or did it not? All right, then there's Kamala Harris, where I'm fairly certain she's like 98% politician, 2% drunk. All right. So it's like you don't know if that's what's going to happen here. I want you to take a listen. This is at her rally over the weekend. The prompter goes out, and it goes out during the key moment of talking about how many days that are left to the election, and we got work to do. And when the prompter dies, and you're ready to now, you have to continue talking, extemporaneous speaking. The way that I liken this to, if you've ever heard a radio host who's dependent on a guest and the guest's phone drops out and they just sit there spinning their wheels like, do we have them back? Do we have them on? Because they don't know what to do.
Right.
All right, that's Kamala Harris at this moment. Take a listen to Kamala Harris as her prompter goes out and she's only stuck on one idea.
Remember his number, 32. Today we got 32 days until the election.
Prompter out.
So 32 days.
So
32 days.
Okay.
Okay, we got some business to do.
And what?
All right. 32 days. And we know we will do it.
What it is.
What's it?
And
How long?
And this is going to be a very tight race until the very end. This is going to be a very tight race until the very end. We are the underdog, and we know we have some hard work ahead.
It's called vamping.
That is so bad. Especially since you see the counter that you continue to pretend now because you have nothing else that he's too old to do this, who doesn't even use a teleprompter. So you know that if his prompter were to go out, he would continue down. But that shows how vapid she is. Like, there's nothing there. It is a joke, and she has to repeat 32. She panics. And you know what?
You can hear the panic in her voice, too.
Well, then I don't want someone as a leader who panics like that. Because what happens when you have to deal with Netanyahu? What happens when you have to deal with Kim Jong-un or Putin or any other, adversary? You're going to panic? You're going to panic and shut down? It's ridiculous.
Like a boat on a lake when the driver of the boat falls in and the boat just goes in circles. Like, I have pulled one up. That's what that whole speech and everything she does looks like. Just a boat running in circles without a driver.
Yep, that's it. That's it.
Joe knew what he was doing. When Joe basically made it a point, it's going to be Kamala Harris. I'm going to endorse my vice president, the woman that my wife hates.
You think
he knew what he was doing.
Like her?
And now, I imagine he just rubs his hands together when he does have lucid moments. Because, again, when you got dementia, you got moments where you think you're Porky Pig and other moments where you know exactly who you are.
Yeah.
In those moments where he knows, he's sitting back going,
I'm going to get her.
I heard her prompter went out and she just kept saying 32 days over and over again.
He's just rubbing his hands like Montgomery Burns.
Yes.
Give the
He is
fools
Monty
their
Burns.
tartar sauce. No, it's good, man. But with Joe, when he's up there, at least he can speak. You know what I mean? Even if he's not saying things that we agree with, he actually says, he gets to the point, he makes his point, and he's done. And now you don't have to like it, and sometimes it comes out of nowhere and makes no sense, but at least he's able to speak without. She wasn't able to do that.
No.
Joe's has dementia and is able to do it.
Joe not only is able to do it, and yes, it's nonsensical at points, but you know what? He has his little crutches. That's not hyperbole. You know what I'm saying, Jack? Yeah. Like, he at least can veer off of that if something happened to his teleprompter. Even in his mental condition now, he is able to, forget someone's name in a really nice way. You know what I'm saying? Like, it makes sense, but he can keep going.
But if you're so rehearsed, and that's what she basically is. Right. She has one canned speech after the next to go ahead and give the American people whenever she's interviewed. The fact that when you're on teleprompter and it goes out, you couldn't go into speech mode?
Yeah.
Like, what happened?
Hold on, you memorize this. You do this every single day, and you can't even remember your own speech. Is it because it's such a lie to you that it just doesn't? It's so fake. What is it?
We'll do this very simply. And Rhino, you play the role of Kamala Harris, and I'll play the role of I'll say critical journalist.
Okay.
What are your economic policies moving forward?
Well, I grew up in a middle-class family.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just knew immediately.
Where to go.
Now, Rhino knows this.
Yeah, I know
How
her
did
whole
she
speech.
not go into canned speech mode?
I could give you her whole speech.
She was panicked.
Every woman has a right to her own reproductive freedom. Blah, 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 blah.
It's always the
Amber
same stuff.
Thurman, blah, 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 blah. Donald Trump, January 6th was such a threat to our democracy.
Just pivot right
I
to
could run through every single one of her speech. You couldn't catch me, Donald Trump. I'd tug. I don't think they could catch anybody off guard if our teleprompter comes out or goes out. You know, there are certain times that you might not have a read in front of you and you have to do a read. Guess what? You work your way through it every single time. That just shows, and I'm glad Carlos brought it up, because the same thought in my head was, why can't she just go back to her tradition? It's the same speech over and over. How did you forget this? This is all you say.
Because she is a phony. I think that's, at the end of the day, that's what it is. She's as phony as they possibly come. And even the memorized speech stuff doesn't mean anything to her because she didn't write it. It has nothing to do with anything that she really thinks or feels. She's been told to say it. Now, why she can't pivot to it, I don't know. But I think it comes down to just her being so phony, she doesn't know what to do in the moment.
What was the word that we went through a month ago?
I don't recall.
Authenticity.
Oh, yeah.
That is going to be the buzzword after we're done with this election. When she loses, as it's looking this way, and again, everybody go vote, okay? Make it too big for them to play any of their games with it. Get out and vote.
Yep.
But it's going to come down to the lack of authenticity in what she was bringing up is what people are not trusting her about.
I could lie about her speech. I mean, in reality, you already got Friday their little game about the job creation when, you know, their main goal is to bring down hiring processes because they know that that's the only way they can work on the interest rate and the inflation rate. And then they tout the fact that they got a few more jobs than they expected, and now you could have went right to that. But that's how just unattached you are to what's really happening around America, and that's what it shows. You should be able to talk about the economy, the border, and everything else that's going on in this country if you're going to be the president, and especially if you're supposed to be the one that's giving legislation and you shut down. It's so embarrassing.
Like somebody threw a switch.
I mean, look, Uncle Chip on Peg could tell you exactly all the talking points because they parroted that
they
from
broke
them.
it down on me.
Yeah, they break it down on you every day all their lives.
I'm telling you, at lunch one day in Charleston, we're sitting there and she said, he's going to be a dictator on day one.
Dictator day one.
I was like, wow, I thought we were talking about fish sandwiches.
Threat to democracy, Jan 6. You can't run to that. That's all you've done for 4 years, you idiot.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
I'd be so mad at her if I worked for her campaign. I'd be like, give me the mic, dummy. I'll do it for you.
Well, but that's why they sent Walls out to Fox News, because they knew he couldn't, or she couldn't do it.
I'm not allowed to talk about this stuff in public.
Your wife gets...
No, it's not even her. It's like the last time I did, like when I told you the bar conversation.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you guys, like the woman got so frustrated, she slapped me on the arm.
Oh, no.
Because there was nowhere for her to go at that point. I'm like, any time that I get in conversations with these people.
No, you didn't tell me you were struck.
Yeah.
It always ends the same way.
It's political violence. Full of it.
Like if I was to have lunch or dinner with Aunt Peg.
Oh, my God.
She would call you after and she'd be like, I hate him.
I hate him.
Yeah. Why? Because I couldn't talk to him at all. He just had me running in circles. I was all pretzeled up.
I know. You're exactly right.
It's fun to pretzel them.
I just excuse myself and go to the bathroom, even if I don't need to go to the bathroom. I was like, I've got to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Yeah. The best thing I heard this weekend, we're out hanging out by the fire, all having a few, adult beverages, looking in the lake and everything, and a group of people, and they said, let's not talk politics. And I'm like, amen.
Bing, 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 bing. When we come back on Extra 106.3, Tom Cotton says what you and I are thinking when it comes to FEMA's helping hand after a Neil Bortz report and a Fox News update.
It's time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
I don't know that this is a commentary as much as it is just me rambling about my history. Maybe you can listen and figure out why I'm so demented. Flunked out of Texas A&M after the first semester of my sophomore year. My father said, "That's it. I got 2 more kids to pay for. You're on your own." Oh, the jobs I did to finish at Texas A&M. Fuller brush man, delivering newspapers, selling Cokes in the basketball stadium, and, of course, disc jockey Randy Neal. Prophetic, I didn't know it. And I was a night auditor at a motel in College Station. Talk about boring. When I came to Atlanta, I had to do several jobs before I worked my way into radio again. Sold life insurance. I was a Fuller brush man, worked at an employment agency, and, again, a night auditor at a downtown motel. One of them was the Downtowner Motor Inn, if you remember that. When the legislature was in session, I could make some extra money, giving a room key to one of the legislators for an hour so that they could entertain some sweet young thing they met at a downtown bar. Anyway, things progressed. I started making more money, gave up the night auditor gig. But then, tough times, needed to pay some taxes, I don't know what, so I went looking for another night auditor job at an Atlanta motel. Found one downtown. Boy, this was going to be rough because I had daytime jobs too. I didn't know when in the world I was going to sleep. But as the day approached for me to show up for this job, something was just gnawing at me. This isn't right. Something's bothering me. My wife said, "Don't do it." So being responsible, I called the owner of the hotel, said, "I can't do it. I'm not taking the job." He hired somebody else. They showed up that night for work. And that night, one of Atlanta's feral, fatherless predators robbed that motel and killed the night auditor. Or clerk, if you will. Every decision will have a consequence on your life. So there's one chapter. Neil Bartz, Extra 106.3.
Tune into your new favorite show that's redefining the A to Z's of marketing, The Marketing Madmen. We'll take you behind the scenes of successful campaigns and reveal the strategies that win. We're not just talking about marketing, we're making it happen. From viral content creation to leveraging AI for customer engagement, our experts bring you to the cutting edge of industry. This is your playbook for market dominance. Tune in and transform your approach with actionable tips that could skyrocket your ROI. The Marketing Madmen every Saturday at 4 p.m. right here on Extra 106.3.
You know the old expression, "I love it when a plan comes together"? Well, with our First Liberty Notes, this has been so true. Hello, I'm Brant Frost, founder of First Liberty Building and Loan. You hear about our family's company all the time right here on the station. For over 30 years, we've been the local lender who said yes when the big banks say no. A couple of months ago, we opened up our First Liberty Notes program to Main Street investors just like you, and the response has been just incredible. Folks from airline pilots to physicians to even pastors are now earning 8 to 13% interest rates while helping to fuel the growth of local small businesses. If you're a qualified investor with a minimum of $25,000, you too could be earning 8 to 13% interest. We'd love to have you join our First Liberty family today. Go to firstlibertyga.com and see if our First Liberty Notes are right for you. Go to firstlibertyga.com. That's firstlibertyga.com.
First Liberty Notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. SEC accredited investor status must be verified. Securities not offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. The 8 a.m. hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air.
A year after the Hamas terror attack, war still rages. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
The threat from Hamas continues with 2 separate launches into Israel today.
And Fox's Nate Foy also reports Israeli forces keep up the attacks on Hamas inside Gaza with no deal in sight for a ceasefire. A year after the attack and kidnappings that triggered the war.
101 Israeli hostages remain in Gaza. Unfortunately, 36 of them are confirmed to be dead, with a 28-year-old man being added to that list just this morning.
Vice President Harris's running mate Tim Walz tells Fox News Sunday Israel has a right to defend itself.
We need the hostages returned, and we need to bring an end to the humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
Palestinians say more than 40,000 people have been killed in the conflict. Former President Trump maintains Israel might be destroyed if he's not elected. And at a rally in Wisconsin, he criticized Hurricane Helene federal response.
The worst response to a storm or a catastrophe or a hurricane,
that we've ever seen, ever.
But FEMA's director is calling claims that funds are low because money was given to illegal immigrants ridiculous and false. President Biden has sent hundreds more troops to flood-devastated North Carolina to help the National Guard and FEMA in the response to the hurricane, which is now blamed for at least 230 deaths. And another one is coming. Milton bearing down on Florida's Gulf Coast.
To see a storm surge of 10 to 12 feet in and around the Tampa Bay, Fort Myers area up towards Cedar Key, that would be devastating.
Fox meteorologist Janice Dean.
Evacuation orders began Sunday along Florida's Gulf Coast and will be increased today in hopes more people will listen this time. Some chose to ride out Hurricane Helene on barrier islands.
Can't do that again, folks.
Kathy Perkins is the emergency director for Pinellas County, Florida, which includes St. Petersburg and Clearwater.
As Fox's Evan Brown, Milton's quickly grown into a Category 3 storm, forecast to be even stronger before hitting midweek. America's listening to Fox News.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy two. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
NYPD officer Jonathan Diller's tragic story made national headlines this year. Now, Jonathan was shot and killed by a career criminal during a traffic stop. Jonathan, who is just 31 years old, leaves behind his wife Stephanie and 1-year-old son Ryan. Now, nothing will ever replace the loss of a husband and a father, but the Tunnel to Towers Foundation was able to pay off the mortgage on the Diller family's home. Please commit to $11 a month. Go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Get the Extra 106.3 app.
Yeah, I got your app. I live out here 30 miles west of Augusta. I'm so glad Conservative Talk is back on the air.
Tug, Rhino, and Los on the Morning Extra. Some of the things that will be discussed around the water cooler today will be the chaos in the college football world. Just the fact that so many teams were upset. I think it was 5 total, and 1 escaped it by 1 point, and that being Miami.
I went to bed after what I thought was going to be a targeting call. Like, I was fighting through it. Like, it was like 1:30 in the morning.
So heavy.
And I as soon as I saw the targeting call, I was like, I'm going to bed. Cal just won. I woke up the next morning. This is after I even told my wife that Miami lost, to find out Miami won because they picked up the flag.
Goodness gracious.
I mean, if there was the epitome of this is what targeting looks like, that's what happened. And the ACC, after they reviewed it from their home center, went, yeah, there's a lot of money riding on this thing. Let's pick that flag up.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the only reason why you do it.
But that diminishes the game when you're allowing gambling to influence referee decisions.
Not gambling. Remember, for every team that gets into the college football playoffs, there's a payoff of about 12 to 14 million per.
Yeah.
So the conferences are in the business of protecting their teams that have an opportunity to make the top 12.
Yeah. So yeah.
I mean, how else do you explain that Miami had a Hail Mary that was completed on them the week before against Virginia Tech, and they went to replay? It was not definitive, and yet then they decided, oh no, incomplete pass.
Yeah, so ridiculous.
And then they pick up the flag for targeting, because remember, Miami right now is the only ACC team.
Right.
You know, Clemson's on the outside looking in, but they're the only team who has a chance to make the playoffs right now.
Oh Lord, just the craziness. You got that. And then on top of that, you got Hurricane Milton, which is expected to make landfall in Florida about Wednesday. And, of course, the October 7th remembrance of it. It's hard to summarize that because it's not an anniversary. We're not celebrating something good. That's what
it's an attack that started a war.
That's exactly
a war that's ongoing, and we don't know what the ultimate outcome of this thing is going to be.
It's still
was
brewing.
that, we might look at that and say, is that the start of World War III, being the regional tensions that are going on, the alliances that are going on, or does this become more along the lines of what we saw in the 70s, where the Israelis end up taking a blow, and then they dealt business for a while
and I think
everybody.
That's what's happening right now, man. The Israelis are doing the Lord's work because they have gotten Hamas down to their final brigade, and now are dismantling Hezbollah in the same way. Every time they name a new leader, the leader is dead. And it happened again yesterday where they named a new leader, and now they can't. They say, we have no comms with him.
Yeah.
That means he's dead.
He's dead. Keep cutting the head off the snake.
That's right.
And that's what Netanyahu's going to do. And I think Netanyahu realizes, if I don't get this done, and I'm going to continue down my plan, I'm not changing course in any way whatsoever for anyone who wants to tell me, whether it's Biden or Harris or anyone who wants to use this as political gain. This is more important than their politics and their, pandering to a bunch of groups just so they could say they were the ones who got this deal done. No, what he's doing is saying Hamas is stepping away from the table. Iran is stepping away from the table. We're getting attacked. This has nothing to do with getting a deal done. I'd love to get a deal done, but there's only one group that continues to not sit at the table, and there's only one group that continues to attack, and that's the terrorists. So keep going then down that path, because in reality, if I'm Netanyahu, I'm thinking, what if they do cheat? What if Kamala Harris and the Democrats do win this election again? Then I have no chance in having any kind of peace in this region. The only chance of peace is if Donald Trump wins or I wipe it out.
Or I handle it.
That's it.
And I'm glad he's handling it.
Well, fortunately for the rest of the area, the Lebanese are not launching at the Israelis.
They're actually backing up.
They're like, that's Hezbollah.
Y'all
Has
fight
nothing
all
to do
you
with
want.
us. The Egyptians have no interest in any other fight and have not for the better part of 50 years when it comes to the Israelis. The rest of the region recognizes Israel's right to exist, except for one. And that's Iran. And the more you empower Iran, the more you allow them to start pumping money into terrorism. And so if we're not backing the Israeli play of dealing with Iran, eventually we're the ones who are going to have to deal with Iran.
And we're not, because we sent them $6 billion at least once.
At least once. And, we can go back to the $1.7 trillion in cash that the Obama administration gave them to ramp up all this and to continue down this path. The reality of it is this. I wish that they would police their own. In other words, I wish that the people really didn't care for what was going on and stood up against it. I wish other nations looked at Iran and said, it's got to stop or we're going to take you out. It shouldn't just be on Israel. But you know what? If it is, then let Israel continue to do it.
And they're doing it.
Absolutely.
Marty's in Atlanta, and he wanted to go back and talk about the failures of Kamala when she has no teleprompter, which we discussed in the last segment. 404-741-1230. Marty, what's up?
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, I just want to know what the fallout was with the staff. Did they just scatter all of a sudden, or did she just grab one and just start yelling? Because, she's notorious for screaming at them.
Yes, sir. She is. No, that's why she's got like a departure rate of like 92%. People do not want to work for this woman. Can you imagine? I think Marty's right. Yeah. Can you imagine probably after that campaign?
Down. You think that she was okay with being embarrassed? I think she was fine with that?
Yeah.
What the hell is going on? I can only hear.
You think the teleprompter guy was just like, or girl was just like, oh, I should leave right now.
I just quit on the spot.
Got to get out of here.
I really have only lost my mind, and this was on the air, off the air, one time. And that was when I was given a brand new person who has since moved on from the radio station, but he figured out how to work for it and worked with Braves Radio Network. I gave him a phone number for Kevin McAlpin from the Braves Radio Network. I was like, call K-Mac. Let's get him on the air. I want to talk Braves with him. And he couldn't figure out the phone system.
Oh, my.
Oh, God.
And that was the moment I lost my mind. I'm like, seriously, you gave me somebody who can't operate a phone? A phone. That's it. Like a phone. You've set me up for failure.
Yeah.
Okay. That's different than a teleprompter dying.
Yeah, right.
No doubt. Prompter dies. That's kind of part, it's going to happen at some point.
Technology just blink out. For sure.
Do you think, I know she blames somebody else, but the reality of it is this. Do you think they look at her and go, well, you couldn't do the same exact rehearsed speech over and over and over again? Like, you have no memory, you have no memorization skills. How are you running for this position if that was the case?
Well, she used the teleprompter on each one of those speeches. I'm serious, man. Like, when he was like, and the election runs through Philadelphia, and the election runs through Milwaukee, and the election runs through Baltimore. It was the same.
City.
But off
I wouldn't trust her that.
But it was off of a prompter every time.
It's good to be here, Cleveland. You're in Dayton.
You're Dayton.
Dayton, all right. Now, I will point this out because Tommy Lauren and I probably need to go to Waffle House because I think we would be really good friends if we went to Waffle House.
That's code. I've learned that is code.
Tommy Lauren pointed this out.
Netflix and chill.
So Trump goes back to the place where he was nearly assassinated. No fear. Kamala Harris's prompter goes down and she literally can't function. Pick your fighter. Is that not like the... I hadn't pondered that because that happened on the same weekend, but that is the difference in these two people when it comes to them being in public.
Well, when she copies Donald Trump so much, she should have just, faked something and fell down or done something and pretended she got, shot or something. Did the old Ric Flair with like a little razor blade in the wristband, cutting her head. I don't know.
That's right.
It just goes to show that this is such a faux leadership, that there is no leaders, and that they need these pawns, these silly humans to continue to fall down, and they'll pick them up by saying, hey, listen, we won't expose you for who you are, but you will do all our bidding. And that just showed when her teleprompter failed. That is such an embarrassing moment.
I can't imagine not being able to function.
I don't know how anybody votes for this woman. I really don't. I just don't understand it. There are Democrats that you can vote for. I'd vote for Tim Walz over her if at least he could speak. At least he can lie. And, obviously he's going to get caught in it every single time, but at least he seems like he's really good with the lying part.
What's so weird about this for me is that since 2016, when the Democrats basically ended democracy, when they decided they were no longer going to allow their voters to choose who their representatives were going to be when it came to president. Because remember, you had a situation where Hillary Clinton was not leading in the polls. She was not leading when it came to what they were running when you were looking at Bernie Sanders basically being the leader. Basically in 2016 and 2020, both times they decided we're going to institute our own person. We're going to put them in charge and we're going to have them be the representative. Once they got rid of that, they're getting more and more ridiculous people.
Yeah. Well, they know that they can't.
At least with Barack Obama, there was a cult of personality where even you had independents and middle-of-the-road Republicans went, I'm tired of being called racist. I'm going to vote for him.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Once they pull the carpet out from under someone and they see that there's no reaction. Mm-hmm. Well, but there's no reaction. There's no pushback. None of their voters were angry about it. They were just like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Then you jump right in line, and it's just fine. So after you do that a few times, you're emboldened to do whatever it is you want to do.
How did you not have a discussion about we've got to go to our convention and have a floor fight to figure this thing out?
Primary.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do this way.
Well, Nancy
so
said
that everybody, she claimed that they did.
That's right. Nobody stepped up. Remember she said.
No,
I'm going to defend the Democrats with these kind of topics because, that's what Nancy said. They had an open primary, Carlos, so go ahead and take that back.
At least you would then have delegates from each state that would have a say in this thing.
Right.
And there is no, so they all have to fall in line behind a very flawed person.
I find the meme that probably popped up, and I'm sure you guys have seen it now, where it's Barack Obama said, I need a dumber vice president, and then you see Joe Biden's picture, and then he says, I need a dumber vice president, and then you see Kamala's, and she's like, I need a dumber vice president, and there's Walz with his silly stare and his funny faces. That's the reality of it.
Tom Cotton was not putting up with Kristen Welker's BS when they were talking about Hurricane Helene on Meet the Press. I want you to hear what he says because he basically summarized what we've all said and what you believe about the federal government and FEMA.
My broader question to you, I think, is about this misinformation. Do you think this is a time to put falsehoods aside, like the idea that FEMA funds are being redirected to migrants, which is just not true?
Well, it is true that FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security have been spending billions of dollars on migrants. I understand some people say they're separate funds, but we just passed a short-term spending bill. It's very common for the administration to come and ask for permission to move money between funds, especially to prepare for emergencies. And second, I would note that this administration seems to have no problem finding money when they want to spend it on their priorities. When they need hundreds of billions of dollars to pay off student loans for graduate students in gender studies programs, they somehow find it. When it's trying to get helicopters to deliver food and water and cellular service and life-saving medicine into these mountain valleys, they somehow can't seem to find the money.
Yeah, he nails it. He absolutely nails it because that's exactly the way I feel. When they say we're going to send $157 million or $1 billion to Lebanon, and I was like, Lebanon, Tennessee? Like where are y'all sitting?
Right.
Because
wrong Lebanon.
Yeah, right.
Doug, wrong Lebanon.
But isn't it amazing that they
I got another one for you.
How tone deaf was that?
How tone deaf? Yes, exactly. What about all the aid to Gaza? What about the fact that they were like, hey, you know what? We're going to use $300 million in American servicemen to build a port that will fail so that we can get aid to a bunch of terrorist sympathizers. That's who this government is. They are not America first. They're America last. They've always been America last. And Tom Cotton's 100% right. They could play the games with, oh, well, that funding, is separate and aside. No, that funding is all there, and you have the option, especially in emergency situations, to say, hey, we don't need to be funding any of these humanitarian aids for the illegals. What we need to do is shift some of that money over to this because this is a true emergency for the American people, and Biden and Harris won't do that.
As it stands right now for 2024, you're going to have $650 million of FEMA spending that is going towards, let's put people in homes that are here illegally. That's their plan. Mm-hmm. So when you just talk about the budget, your budget is your budget. They have basically wasted it on this disaster that they created, this administration has created. So now that when we have real disasters that we have no control over, because remember, if we want to stop the border disaster, we close the border, okay? Like, we can do that. You want to stop a Cat 5 hurricane? You can't. Right? Like, what's going to hit Florida by Wednesday evening, Thursday morning? You can't do anything about that. But you can have money put aside ready to help people, but you've spent that on your own disaster that you have created, your man-made disaster.
And it's in the FEMA documents. They're posted online. It's not like it's a huge secret. So to see them...
The Shelter and Services Program.
That's right. The ones I brought up last week.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what they're right there in front of your face. All you have to do is look it up. Go to their website. It's there.
It's not, they're celebrating it. Like, look what we're doing with your money.
It's exactly right, man. And that's the thing that I think most people are so upset about is that, first of all, you shouldn't spend any money on that. And then secondly, when Americans need it, you're not willing to. You're saying we don't have enough, but we got enough to send $157 billion to Lebanon. We've got all that.
Sure. I want to re-rack this audio here. Take a listen to, and this is the anchor who has basically already decided that the idea that the money that you've put aside, the money that is taken out of our paychecks that goes towards FEMA to help our fellow Americans when they have a disaster, the fact that it's not going to disaster relief, instead it's going over to illegal immigrants, she's already decided that that's a falsehood. Just take a listen to how she
My
just
broader question to you, I think, is about this misinformation. Do you think this is a time to put falsehoods aside, like the idea that FEMA funds are being redirected to migrants, which is just not true?
Well,
it's
just not true.
It's just exactly true.
So, yeah, which is...
they have it on their website.
Right, but that's the way they go in, right? With that
misinformation.
Premise. Right, but they go in with the premise that what you're saying is already a lie. So we're going to put you on your heels and to put you on defense, and Tom Cotton didn't fall for it.
No, unfortunately, he went ahead and rejected the premise, which is what you should always do, is reject the premise to start with when it comes to these people, because they're trying to basically draw the battle lines by which you have to fight. The idea that there's no money that is somehow out of FEMA that is going towards these people but is not available for the average American, that's what we should be talking about, that they're getting a crazy ton of money in comparison to the $750 check that your countrymen and your countrywomen are dealing with right now.
And then George Stephanopoulos, along with the, what's her name, Diane Criswell of FEMA, she and George Stephanopoulos on ABC's This Week, they don't say the victims are the American people that are struggling, that are suffering. It's actually FEMA. FEMA's the victim.
So much is going viral online as well. One user suggested yesterday that a militia should go against FEMA. Got more than 500,000 views. What kind of impact has this had on the recovery effort?
It has a tremendous impact on the comfort level of our own employees to be able to go out there, but it's also demoralizing to all of the first responders that have been out there in their communities helping people, FEMA staff, volunteers, the private sector that are working side by side with local officials to go out and help people. I need to make sure I can get the resources to where they're needed. And when you have this dangerous rhetoric like you're hearing, it creates fear in our own employees. And we need to make sure we're getting help to the people who need it.
What exactly are they scared of?
Where is this rhetoric, by the way? Because I didn't see it. I haven't seen any of it. And if I'm going to see it, it's obviously going to be on the most extreme outlet that there is, X, right? I mean, we'd see it all over there. I haven't seen any of those reports. Has anybody? And
all I've seen is FEMA is a failure, and they're failing the people. And that's true.
That's true.
No. But as far as we're going after FEMA and misinformation,
I'm going to take Glenn Beck for his word, and keep in mind that you are dealing with a bunch of people that are a bunch of soy boys.
Yeah.
I know them. I know them very well.
I share some things in common.
I partake in your soy boyness.
You unfortunately have an insight into
That's right. I know their personalities because I delve into their goods. But I bring this up. Glenn Beck flat out said when they tried to shut down their local hospital that they had created, a field hospital for people that needed medication, and when FEMA came in and told them, you don't have a license, you can't run this, them country boys said, you need to get on.
Yeah.
A country boy can't survive. That's what I hear.
And you know what that turns into?
Oh, so that's the way.
Boss, they ran me out of here.
They threatened me. They're extremists.
I was like, you know what? They should.
They're good.
The comfort level of, this is a tweet from a lady named Kristen Mag. The comfort level of hurricane victims matters way more to me right now than the comfort level of FEMA employees. Yes, that's exactly right.
Yes.
I don't know how you get.
Sorry.
Dude, these people are under incredible stress. Y'all are staying in resorts in Cherokee.
I can't wait, because this is what's going to happen. You're going to have the people of Tennessee. You're going to have the people of South Georgia. You're going to have people of North Carolina. And soon to be, because Florida's already doing it, but now the central part of Florida, the Big Bend area, is not populated like the area that this Milton's going to go through. Just wait until all of us are saying what an embarrassing failure by the government. You talk about October surprises, Rhino. This is going to be another one where people are going to go, wow, how inept are we?
I agree.
Elon Musk shows up with Donald Trump this weekend and discusses the most important freedom we have as Americans. Next on the Morning Xtra on Xtra 106.3.
The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's the camera. How's it going? Here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
So you think the old Talkmaster's a pretty good guy, huh? No, not the way I've been thinking lately. I am so proud of the Israelis for their recent assaults on these Muslim goons who are dedicated to their eradication. Many years ago, perhaps even before you were born, the Israelis set up a little iPhone repair shop in the Gaza Strip. They waited until some Hamas leader came by to get his iPhone fixed. They fixed it. It worked just fine. Oh, yeah, but it had a little explosive device hidden in it. So after Mr. Hamas hotshot came by to get his phone, when he left, they called him. Hello? Boom. Now they've really upped their game.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
My fellow Americans, our yards are in troubled times. Unwanted weeds are crossing fence lines across our great nation, and we need to put a stop to it. No more college football Saturdays spent mowing the lawn. No, sir. Let's turf it with ultra-premium artificial grass from ATL Turf Co. They're Atlanta and North Georgia's first choice for premium turf solutions, from incredible lawns to custom putting greens. Let's make your yard great again with a free consultation at atlturfco.com.
I enjoy a good night's sleep, and I like to breathe while I'm sleeping. My wife appreciates that, too. That's why I wear a CPAP. You want the right machine. You want expert advice. You want all the supplies that go with it. You get it all at CPAPs, etc. in Alpharetta. Machines, masks, tubing, filters, cleaning supplies, all of it, and they ship nationwide. Walk-ins, by the way, are welcome. CPAPs, etc. Alpharetta, CPAPSETC.com.
Tune into your new favorite show that's redefining the A to Z's of marketing, the Marketing Madmen. We'll take you behind the scenes of successful campaigns and reveal the strategies that win. We're not just talking about marketing, we're making it happen. From viral content creation to leveraging AI for customer engagement, our experts bring you to the cutting edge of industry. This is your playbook for market dominance. Tune in and transform your approach with actionable tips that could skyrocket your ROI. The Marketing Madmen every Saturday at 4 p.m. right here on Extra 106.3.
Hi, this is Ben.
And I'm Walt from Horizon Background Screening.
I would say anyone who's working in any industry could use our services.
A couple of the clients that people tend to not even think about are churches, volunteer organizations. We do a lot of background checks for referee associations. Anybody who's going to be around kids or older adults or anybody vulnerable, you really need to do a background check that includes a criminal history, a sex offender registry search, and anything else that's really relevant to your organization, just to make sure that the people who you're putting in touch with, kids and other vulnerable people, are who you think they are, and that you're not putting putting your clientele at risk.
So we're going to help you reduce your risk. We're going to help you hire the right person on the front end so that you don't spend all this time with training and all those kind of things and then realize that wasn't a good hire.
The best way for people to find us is on our website. A quick Google search of Horizon Background Screening, or look at us at horizonscreening.com.
As an official community partner of the Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Braves Foundation, the Warrior Alliance connects warriors and their families to free services such as health and wellness, housing, employment, education, legal services, and so much more. We need your financial support to increase our impact and change thousands of lives for those who served in the U.S. Armed Forces. It takes more than just thank you for your service. Make a donation to help warriors navigate to success after service. Go to thewarrioralliance.org/donate and make a difference today.
When a woman experiences an unplanned pregnancy, she often feels alone and afraid. So many times her first response is to seek out an abortion. But because of the generosity of listeners like you, that search may lead her to a preborn network clinic where she'll choose life, not just for her baby, but for herself. Preborn offers God's love and compassion to hurting women and then provides a free ultrasound to introduce them to the life growing inside them. This combination brings the ultimate miracle of life to life, which is why Preborn saves 200 babies every single day.
That changed my life. Just from that ultrasound picture, I'm going to keep my baby, and I'm going to keep growing, and I'm going to be a great mom.
Your tax-deductible donation of $28 sponsors one ultrasound. And now through a match, your gift is doubled, saving twice as many babies. How many babies can you save? Please donate. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword baby. Pound 250, keyword baby, or go to preborn.com/Beck. Preborn.com/Beck. Sponsored by Preborn.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Monday, October 7th. Douglas County deputies responded to a burglary call in the St. Andrews Country Club neighborhood early Friday morning. Deputies found that Aubrey Horton had entered a home and was then shot and fatally wounded by the homeowner in what the Sheriff's Department is calling an act of self-defense. The Atlanta Police Department confirmed that Aubrey Horton was an investigator with the fugitive unit and was off duty at the time of the shooting. Investigator Horton had been honored as Officer of the Year just a few days earlier. Today is the last day to register to vote in the state of Georgia. You can register online at the Georgia Secretary of State's office or register by mail, phone, or in person at a local election office. Here are some important things to know if you plan on registering today. You must have a valid ID, be a U.S. citizen, and be a legal resident in the county where you are registering. Early voting in the state begins on October 15th and ends on November 1st. And if your commute involves MARTA, passengers on the Gold Line should be aware that the trains will be skipping the Brookhaven station for the next 6 weeks as renovations begin on the station's platforms. During the renovations, MARTA will provide shuttle bus service to Lenox Station to the south and Chamblee Station to the north. Construction is expected to last until November 15th.
Y'all, the best thing I saw this weekend was those Vanderbilt fans tearing down the goalposts and running them out to the Cumberland River, like 2.6 miles they carried this thing and threw it in the Cumberland.
There is something awesome about when weird stuff happens on Broadway. Like when the NFL had the NFL draft, every single one of those parties, all the bridesmaids and here's the bride, and bridal shower, and they were all looking around going like, what happened? Like, this is what we expected. To see them all looking up going, are those goalposts going right down the street, right down Broadway?
Matter of fact, it is a goalpost. And this is a Vanderbilt team that has never knocked off a top 5 team, much less a number 1 team in America. First time it's ever happened. And the best troll job I've ever seen is when the clock goes to 0, Nick Saban being played on the loudspeaker saying, there's not an easy place to play in the SEC. Except Vanderbilt, you'll have more fans than they will. It's not being disrespectful to them. It's just the truth.
Well, they did have more fans in there.
Absolutely.
They did.
But let me tell you, it was not an easier place to play this past Saturday.
So if you want to know about their 3 previous meetings, I had this note for when I do the sports deal later in the day. The previous 3 meetings between Vanderbilt and Alabama outscored Vanderbilt 148-3.
It wasn't supposed to be a victory for Vanderbilt.
And yet, Vandy scored 40 on them.
That's exactly right. Oh, my God.
But it is the definition, and I've heard this. I give Brandon Adams, who is Bulldog Daily. He does a podcast. It's all tied in with Georgia. Good dude. Brandon Adams has had a theory for a long time that the hardest thing to do in the SEC is have an emotional home win and then go on the road the next week. And you saw that with Tennessee when they beat Oklahoma at home, and you saw the same thing with Alabama beating Georgia at home, and they went into Vanderbilt and they were flat.
And the score was not that much different. And that's the other thing I noticed, that the Georgia-Alabama score with Alabama winning was very similar to the score. Not that it means anything.
But you can score on Alabama this year.
But that's the thing. It's exactly right. It was fascinating to see, and I love it. All the upsets were great. I just thought it was terrific.
Can I give you one more from Tyreek Hill, the wide receiver from the Miami Dolphins?
For sure.
He put out a tweet after Saturday night that just said this: anybody seen Waddle or Tua? We got to check on my teammates, man. Right. My Alabama teammates. We need to do a welfare check.
They're hurting.
They're hurting right now.
I know Lad McConkey was on the sidelines at Georgia for this past game against Auburn, which was super cool to see. Now, we could use him there as a wide receiver because I feel like Georgia is they've just not found anybody that can be the things that they lost in Lad McConkey and of course, the incredible tight end in Brock Bowers, but they'll have to figure it out at some point. But this year is different, though, than any year that I can remember as far as parity and teams winning or losing. You know, there's always in the 2 or 3 folks that can get away and not lose a game. And then all of a sudden this year, that's been different.
Well, a lot of the talk is Texas and Ohio State. Ohio State's going to have to play Oregon, so you're going to get 2 undefeated top 5s this weekend, and then Texas plays Georgia the week after this next one. And so we're going to find out. Like, if there's one thing that's cool, Rhino, about having these 4 major power conferences, there's no mystery guest. Like, you are going to get tested during the season.
Yeah, I love it. I love watching every minute
It's so much fun.
It is. So, especially when you're a Gator fan and have no reason to be in the game, it's fun to watch everybody else just struggle.
Rhino's looking around going like, oh, so which one's going to be the next head coach?
I know this.
Yeah, I can't wait. Let me get a head coach. Let me see how this happens. You know,
Stoops in Kentucky's a good choice, man.
Oh, boy, I'd love him.
He recruits. He recruits the hell out of Ohio.
He knows. Look, he knows Florida really, really well. Their whole family does. So I'd love to see it. But this is what's great about the game. You know, I expect Georgia to perform and continue to perform throughout the season. But boy, do I love to watch them lose. I expect Alabama to be one of the best teams in the season. I love watching them lose.
My wife was jumping
Anybody
up and
outside the SEC, I love watching them lose, especially if they're touted as like, oh, Notre Dame's going to be. I can't wait to see Notre Dame lose every year.
God. I was so awkwardly torn because obviously I started, my love for SEC football came from my wife and her taking me to Georgia games. It wasn't until 8 years later I was like, oh, hey, able to get into University of Alabama and finish my master's degree. So I'm watching that game, rooting for Georgia against an alma mater.
Right.
Then I'm watching the Alabama game against Vanderbilt going, you know, they've won so much.
Wouldn't it be nice to see a little Vandy?
I'm just kind of curious. And now it's supposed to sound wrong, but there's a part of me that goes,
it's the underdog thing.
Oh, yeah. There was a part of me that just went, man, I want something good for Vandy.
Yeah, because they've never experienced it. And, dude, it's because you got to be smart as a whip to get in there.
It's like rooting for the nerd with the really beautiful girl in the movie. You're like, I really hope he makes it happen.
Speaking of, from like 1982 or 3 or 4, whatever that movie came out. Still good.
I really hope he ends up with the hot cheerleader.
That's exactly right. 8 o'clock hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning.
That's why Lucas hurts so much watching that movie. Because Lucas doesn't get the girl.
Doesn't get the girl.
You're at Atlanta Carrier Experts, Central.
Look it up, Joe Lucas.
And 770 Get Heat Lucas is
good,
what
man. A goofy.
Just look up, just Google the movie Lucas, and then you'll understand.
Kid. Yeah.
Charlie Sheen doing his thing on Lucas. Lucas didn't do his thing.
It's been a minute since I've seen it, but I remember growing up watching
it. Look at an image of him.
Yeah, right. What is that? 86? 86, I think so. Anyway,
86. Yeah, good call.
Elon Musk. The thing I love about Elon Musk is that not only did he come out and talk about the importance of freedom of speech and the importance in voting and all that kind of stuff, but he came out when they introduced him, he did the double hand wave.
There it is.
I saw it too. He jumped up and down.
He's noticed the same things that I've noticed. The double hand wave.
Hey!
Yeah, exactly.
Well, but you know what it was more? It was the hands quick wave, a quick jump, and that was it. Whereas, like, when you go full, like, let me see how many times I can wave these things. I'm like, okay, this is different.
Is this something they pulled that, all the lady men on their side love when he jumps up and down? Like, why does he continue to do that? It
you're talking about Walls? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm saying, does Walls, do they go, hey, because it seems like the same exact, like, it almost seems rehearsed. So I'm wondering, did they go, hey, people like it when you jump and act like an idiot like Richard Simmons, so keep doing that when you get on stage?
The part to me, to see Elon Musk obviously, get up on stage in Pennsylvania, and I thought to myself how the man's been on stage plenty of times before, but typically it's a conference, it's a tech talk, it's whatever it is that they're doing. I think that had to have been completely different than anything else he experienced, where you had that many thousands of people that were like, we're here to watch you talk.
Yeah,
and we're surprised you're here. Like, wow, what energy.
I don't know why I was surprised he was there, but I was kind of surprised too. There was just that little bit of me that was like,
I never heard he was going to be on there, so I was like, whoa.
I just thought it was super cool, and I'm always so impressed by him, obviously, because of the things he's been able to do. I mean, I don't worship at the altar of Elon Musk or Donald Trump, or I worship the altar of Jesus. That's it. But I am still really fascinated by him.
Call him Space Jesus.
Yeah. So, okay, Elon Musk is a.k.a. Space Jesus.
But here's the weird part about
I just like
all of
seeing
this
it,
stuff.
man. I like him.
So weird.
He's the world's richest man, or formerly, or right there, just on a regular basis. He actually rescues astronauts. He gets us to space. Yeah. He's trying to figure out how to get us to Mars. He created a company that is the premier company when it comes to building electric vehicles. And he's decided, I'm with you guys. There's some messed up stuff going on here.
I'm not with the crazies.
My politics aren't them over there. It's more along the lines of being free speech with y'all.
When he is the one that steps up and works with Donald Trump in order to get Starlink, I mean, can you look at anything better? What has Walz and Harris done besides just, throw out empty promises and speeches and political photo ops? I mean, that's all they've gotten. Donald Trump's doing work. He's working with Governor Kemp. They're bringing in more gas. They're bringing in things. Elon Musk is a hero in a lot of ways, and I'm glad that, he's put politics aside up until now to kind of say, hey, this is what's right. Now, I know it seems political, but he just happened to join somebody who he thinks is doing what's right for this country, and he loves being in this country, and I love that about Elon Musk at this point.
Well, it'd be called political, but is it political?
Is it? That's what I'm saying. It's not really political.
Yeah, and I think that's the part that jumps out when you take it all apart and you say, what is this really about? He's speaking about universal things that should be true. Your basic freedoms should be respected. This is not somebody who's telling you about we've got to create these vehicles to save the climate, or we've got to do this in order to deal with some of the issues that we have going on Earth. And outside of him talking about like, hey, eventually as a society we got to be multi-planeted. This guy's just basically saying, if you don't have these freedoms, you don't have a republic.
Yeah. I think that's so important because he actually understands it. He breaks it down. He knows where it's from. It goes back to every issue. Every person in this country has a right to believe what they want to believe and should be able to live that way. That's what this country was founded for. And if you don't like it, that's why people moved to Oregon. That's why people went on the Oregon Trail. They go, we don't like the religious sect here. We're going somewhere else that does match our religious.
And we hear there's gold out there, so we're trying to get some of that.
Of course. Or we don't like the way that the medical community is set up here. We're moving out to this part of the country, or we want to be able to farm, so we're going here. That's the way this country was set up. And that's why, when people whine and cry about abortion not being legal in certain states, because I'll tell you right now, if somebody moved into my neighborhood and they put an HOA and said, hey, everybody has to have this kind of flag, or everybody has to have this, that, and the other, you know what I do? Let's move. Let's get out of here. This doesn't fit with the way I want to live my life. It's the same thing. You want to kill babies? There are plenty of states that you can go and do that. Unfortunately, if you want to live here, you got to live by these rules. That's just kind of the way it works. And Elon Musk says everybody should have that freedom.
I'll tell you, Elon didn't have to buy Twitter. Like, he brought some of the argument on himself because he believed in it. So, and that's got nothing to do with politics. This was way before he and Donald Trump even had a relationship that I know of.
I was just looking forward to him purchasing Twitter because I was tired of the censorship that was going on, and I thought to myself,
and him too.
Maybe he's going to end that. Had no idea the real influence that was going to have, where I can still go back and find all the crazy leftists that were going nuts when he was interacting and going through the process of buying it, because they looked at it as, it was such a powerful weapon and it was theirs.
Yeah.
And now it's not.
And they freaked out.
Only because he spent $44 billion and said, $44 billion to take away your favorite toy.
And they all laugh saying, oh, that's such a waste. He's going to be broke. He's losing money. And now he's still obviously the largest billionaire. What's the way to say
Richest
that?
man in the
Richest
world.
man in the world.
Yeah.
The left hates it.
8 o'clock hour brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier expert. 770-GET-HEAT. CentralHeat.com is their website. When we come back, leftist outlet Axios is calling Kamala's policies Trumpy. I'll explain what that means. Trumpy. Next on the Morning Extra. Tug, Rhino, and Los until 10.
The left-wing media is pushing counterfeit polls and bogus headlines, all while ignoring the stories that matter most. Trust the conservative voice of Atlanta for the real truth without the media spin. The Morning Extra, Glenn Beck, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton, The Kimmer Show, Jesse Kelly, and the voices you need most are all on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
It's going to be an interesting couple of months right here on Extra 106.3.
Have you been thinking about improvements to your home? My wife and I thought we were going to downsize, and then we realized that we couldn't afford the interest rate. We wouldn't be able to buy a house in our own neighborhood if we decided to move. So we just knew we couldn't. This is not a situation that is conducive for that. So if you're dreaming of home improvements and worried about the cost, with Southern Exteriors, you can enjoy 0% financing and make no payments for up to 6 months. You can upgrade your home today without breaking the bank. That's right. Transform your home today, and depends on what it is that you're looking for, because there's plenty of options out there. Fall is here. I don't know if you noticed this weekend, there is leaves all in your yard. I know mine is the same way. Now's the time to get your home ready with Southern Exteriors. Cleaning out those gutters, adding gutter covers, or both, they've got you covered. They can do any cleaning job that you need done. Plus, while they're up there, they'll inspect your roof, make sure that it is sound. So don't wait. Call Southern Exteriors today, 877-9-SOUTHERN, southernexteriors.co, 877-9-SOUTHERN, southernexteriors.co, quality and precision you can rely on.
Braves Country Baseball and Softball Association offers ball players the unique opportunity to learn new skills through official Braves Clinic curriculum while getting closer to their favorite team than ever before. Braves Clinics will consist of nonstop fun with an emphasis on teamwork, attitude, and healthy competition. The unique baseball and softball programs will help players ages 6 to 12 of all abilities develop on and off the field. Visit Braves.com/clinics to see locations and sign up for fall clinics today. Atlanta Braves Baseball. We are Braves Country.
Get ready for unfiltered conversations on The Janelle King Show, where we tackle the topics that you won't hear at your family gatherings, but they're absolutely crucial for a strong republic. Don't miss us live every Saturday at 3 p.m. and every Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on Extra 106.3. But if you can't tune in, that's okay. You can catch new episodes every Tuesday on the Podcast Park or wherever you prefer to get your podcasts. Join us for these discussions, and I can't wait to meet you there.
Lee Brandt Jewelry and Watch Company, where quality and value make the difference. Locally owned and located in Sandy Springs, offering you the finest selection of unique diamonds, sapphires, rubies, and emerald jewelry, as well as other fine gemstones. Lee Brandt Jewelry and Watches has been servicing Rolex watches for over 30 years, and their Rolex-trained watchmaker will service your watch in their state-of-the-art Rolex service center in their store. Lee Brandt uses only genuine Rolex parts, and their estimates are free. Drop by Lee Brandt in the Trader Joe's Shopping Center in Sandy Springs or visit LeeBrandt.com.
Extra 106.3 listeners are falling in love with Nucky's Hoagies in Roswell.
Me and my wife now find our favorite sandwich place. That food over there was great.
Yeah, those rolls are so soft and sweet. I mean, it was just melt in your mouth. It was, and the steak was tender and juicy and flavorful. I can't say enough about it. It was very, very impressive.
It was so good.
Make Nucky's Hoagies in Roswell on Woodstock Road your new favorite spot for lunch or dinner. Nucky'sHoagies.com.
Election season is here, and regardless of which side of the aisle you're on, we can all experience the stress of uncertainty. Fear of the unknown can cause us to postpone important decisions that impact our lives, especially in retirement planning. Resist hesitation and contact Masterplan Retirement Consultants, a holistic retirement planning firm dedicated to creating a retirement plan to help with all of life's surprises. Through income planning and money management, legacy planning, and tax planning, we create a plan specifically designed for your life to see you to and through retirement. Don't leave your retirement up to chance. Create a plan for your retirement and pursue peace of mind. Visit masterplanretire.com. Masterplan Retirement Consultants. Plan well and prosper.
Advisory services offered through Master Plan Retirement Consultants Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates Inc., DBA Master Plan Retirement Consultants. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
Your voice, your vote. And this year it matters more than ever. So for the unbiased election coverage that affects your family and your community, trust the voices that matter when it matters the most. Extra 1063 and the Xtra app.
Like you, I go to the opposing side websites to see what they're talking about, to see how they're discussing what conservatives do, what conservatives should do, the news of the day, that kind of thing.
I spent the morning yesterday watching CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC. And again, I don't consume a lot of this stuff, but when I was getting a little workout in, I decided I just want to see how they are addressing all of the election and all the stuff that's going on in the Southeast in terms of Hurricane Helene.
Yeah, it's always crazy. Every time you tune into one of those, you always see something that just makes you roll your eyes. As Los would say, a giant eye roll. So I was reading Axios. And Axios obviously is owned by the same company that owns the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. They're both leftist outlets. And Axios says even if Trump were to lose in November, he wins on border security and the border in general. And it's funny to me to hear leftist outlets say that because basically they're saying he was right. They don't want to say it like that, but that's what they have to say. And they know he was. So it's happening more and more. You're seeing it. They're saying it over and over and over. I want to give you a line from the Axios article when they're talking about Kamala Harris and immigration and border security and then Trump. And they say, quote, Kamala sounds Trumpy, Trumpry. I assume that means Trump-like, Trumpy on the border. And I would say the truth comes out a little at a time, doesn't it? It's like a Miranda Lambert song called White Liar. Go listen to the lyrics of that song because it does. The truth always does come out. A line from the article, some Democrats have been frustrated that Harris and the Biden administration recently embraced restriction on asylum, and that resembles Trump policies that they once opposed. They don't have another choice. They're losing. I mean, there's nothing that they're getting right when it comes to the border, and everybody knows it. And then to see her flip-flop makes it look even worse.
I firmly believe, if you remember like some of the signs that you'll see like in factories where it'll say how many days without incident, without an accident.
Without an injury.
They'll be like 108 days, no accidents, everything's fine. They're going to have their own sign up that's basically going to say 1,000+ days, haven't defended the border. They're not changing this policy. This is strictly to make you think, well, they're getting serious about the border now. They're not changing anything.
No.
Part of the plan.
Listen, part of the plan is to keep power as long as they possibly can, hopefully for infinity. That's the idea of the Democrats, is to fundamentally change America from being a republic to being what we don't want it to be, which is a socialist democracy, because that's the idea behind what they want to do. The border is their easiest way to continue to ship people in and take care of them. That's what they're going to continue.
Some immigration advocates on the left argue that Harris' sudden election year embrace of harsh rules has weakened her leverage to push for a pathway to citizenship for select populations and other pro-immigration policies that she supports, which is telling you they want to legalize everybody that's here and give them the opportunity to vote. And now Axios and those some immigration advocates on the left are concerned that it's going to undercut her ability to do that if she were to win. That's what you're reading.
Look, I would love to be able to say to people all around the world, I mean, it's as ridiculous as their policies, but the idea of saying, hey, are you tired of your borders in Europe being wide open to all the problems that you're having? Because we're seeing more conservative people win throughout the rest of the country. Well, come to America. Come to America, and Donald Trump will make sure that as long as you continue to vote for him and not the Democrats who continue to allow open borders, then come this way. Democrats would lose their mind. But that's what the Democrats have continued to do. Don't come here. Come here, though. Here's the money. Don't come here. Look, out in public, that's what Kamala Harris says. Don't come here. But in private, she pays you.
And when you look at the argument that the Democrats have tried to use, and this has been through now a multitude of debates, they have basically said, well, Donald Trump decided to tell the Republicans to stand down on this border bill. Well, that wasn't H.R. 2. That was their weak border bill that was in part done by your uniparty Republicans. And what was the main issue with it? It was at the president's discretion whether to close the border, and only after the amount of illegals coming across 5,000 per day.
And on top of that, Los, they have by executive order the ability to close the border for the American safety anytime. They don't need to pass anything.
Anytime you want.
Everybody knows it. That's why when people throw that out there, I was like, you don't need a new law to protect the U.S. homeland.
No, everything's already on the books. You just have to have the executive order and say, enforce the current laws. As of now, or the current rules, basically they're just saying to the Border Patrol agents, do not enforce the rules on the books. Do enforce these particular rules. And that is allowed for just waves of people.
The reality of what they call their bipartisan border deal was that the reason that it didn't get through or didn't get voted in was not because of Donald Trump. It was because the ideas behind it of allowing 1.8 million people a year in here illegally was a problem. The lack of actually vetting out criminals was a huge problem. That was the reality. But now they're going to play games and say, oh, Donald Trump stopped the perfect bill. No, you could have signed exactly what you wanted to. You could have shut it down at any time, but you decided to leave it open so you could bring in a few more people.
And they will continue to do that. It doesn't matter the face that's on the Democrat Party. But isn't it funny how all of a sudden you're seeing even leftist outlets do a little bit of a drop step on Kamala Harris because they're furious about this and they're calling her out. And maybe these don't go together, but all of a sudden Saturday Night Live finds it funny. And they are funny.
But look what's happening. When Eric Adams, as the mayor of New York, steps out and says, we got a problem here. You're crushing my city budget. You're crushing what we're doing. And the communists go, well, watch how we use the law against you. The word is out. Don't complain about this stuff as much as it is a hindrance to re-election, as much as it is a problem for these governors and these mayors. If they step out of line, they know they're going to get hit with the big stick.
Absolutely. And I thought the same thing, and I go, well, that's why Tim Walz is being rewarded to where he is. Look how compliant he was in Minnesota and making it a sanctuary state. Look how compliant he was in making it pretty much Somalia and allowing them to fly a Somalian flag and do a call to prayer all day. But yet you can't have any kind of prayer in school or even a Pledge of Allegiance that says the word God in it. But they'll allow 5 times a day. That's the reward you get if you just fall in line, and that's what Tim Walz does. If you're Adams, you're out.
They turn on you like a viper. Like a
if you care
viper.
about the people, you're out.
That's right, dude. And sometimes it's as simple as you see the ills of the ways, right? I mean, and I'm not defending Eric Adams. I don't know enough about him or the way he is or believes. But when he started seeing the failures and how it was affecting the city he was in, he was like, hold up. And they were like, no. You better not.
You better not say anything about this. I know this is going to be difficult for you to win re-election, but we talk about this on a regular basis. The communist takes the football, runs it as far down the field as they can. They get kicked out of power, and then they wait. And then as soon as they get the football back, they rush it back down the field. As much as we're looking forward to a Donald Trump presidency and securing the border and mass deportation on the level of Bill Clinton, which he kicked out 13 million people, that's the most we've had in the last 20 years. If that's what's going to happen, great. But then watch what happens when the Democrats get right back in office. They'll reopen everything and they'll flood you again. And so you got to wonder, how do you eventually talk them out of this mentality that has grown like a virus within their community that for some reason you're not entitled to citizenship and sovereignty?
Buddy, I wish I had the answer to that, because that's the $1 billion question. Like, how do you convince them? Otherwise, I don't think you can. And whether, if let's say Kamala wins, You're going to continue the craziness. Let's say Trump wins. They're going to do everything they can to handcuff him to not be able to enforce the laws, even though Kamala Harris right now is saying that she would use the same laws that Trump is.
But we make the mistake of playing into this, of saying, yes, we're a country of people. We all came from somewhere different. Yeah, but you're an American citizen.
Yeah.
But they get you thinking this way so that you're compliant with, well, let's just open the doors, let everybody in.
We didn't come here illegally. We had to go through every single process to become immigrants. And that's why they use the word immigrants. They're not immigrants. They're illegal aliens.
My family were Texans, and then suddenly they're like, hey, you're now in the United States. They're like, well, we were Texans, but okay.
Okay.
Cool, been here for 200 years.
Morning Extra and Extra 106.3 when we continue. After a Neil Bortz report and a Fox News update, if FEMA can't handle one hurricane, 2 is going to be an absolute knockout blow, I'm afraid. Next on the Morning Extra, Tug, Rhino, and Losen till 10. Download the app so you can listen live and on demand. When we're done at 10, Glenn Beck program, Clay and Buck, noon to 3, and 3 to 6, the local afternoon show with the Kimmer, Pete, and Flounder.
Time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
I don't know that this is a commentary as much as it is just me rambling about my history. Maybe you can listen and figure out why I'm so demented. Flunked out of Texas A&M after the first semester of my sophomore year. My father said, that's it. I got 2 more kids to pay for. You're on your own. Oh, the jobs I did to finish at Texas A&M. Fuller brush man, delivering newspapers, selling Cokes in the basketball stadium, and, of course, disc jockey, Randy Neal. Prophetic, I didn't know it. And I was a night auditor at a motel in College Station. Talk about boring. When I came to Atlanta, I had to do several jobs before I worked my way into radio again. Sold life insurance. I was a Fuller brush man, worked at an employment agency, and, again, a night auditor at a downtown motel. One of them was the Downtowner Motor Inn, if you remember that. When the legislature was in session, I could make some extra money, giving a room key to one of the legislators for an hour so that they could entertain some sweet young thing they met at a downtown bar. Anyway, things progressed. I started making more money, gave up the night auditor gig. But then, tough times, needed to pay some taxes, I don't know what, so I went looking for another night auditor job at an Atlanta motel. Found one downtown. Boy, this was going to be rough because I had daytime jobs too. I didn't know when in the world I was going to sleep. But as the day approached for me to show up for this job, something was just gnawing at me. This isn't right. Something's bothering me. My wife said, don't do it. So being responsible, I called the owner of the hotel, said, I can't do it. I'm not taking the job. He hired somebody else. They showed up that night for work. And that night, one of Atlanta's feral, fatherless predators robbed that motel and killed the night auditor. Or clerk, if you will. Every decision will have a consequence on your life. So there's one chapter. Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
Hey, Jimmy, what's going on?
Oh, hey, Bobby. It's kind of embarrassing. I'm having deck problems.
You're having deck problems?
Hey, keep it down. It's embarrassing.
Look, there's plenty of guys in the neighborhood with deck problems. What's the matter with yours?
Well, it's small and old compared to yours.
All right, let's not make this a deck measuring competition. You just need to call Excavations. They've seen decks of all sizes, shapes, and colors. Good news is Excavations can build you a sweet new deck that you'll love to show off to your friends and neighbors. Don't worry, Jimmy. We're going to get you some big deck energy.
Hi, this is Candace with Excavations, and have I got a tip for you. Don't feel ashamed of your deck. Excavations can build an outdoor living space that you'll be proud of. And with our Exavision, we'll be able to show you your home's transformation before you even begin the work. Keep the HOA off your deck and give us a call today for decks, windows, siding, roofing, and more. Or visit us at exovations.com to get inspired.
The Kimmer Show is only on Extra 106.3 every weekday afternoon on your drive home.
If she wins, It's the United States. It's the end of what we knew it as, what we grew up in.
We're not going to take
because there's 100 million of us that won't live under that. What she's going to try and do, we're not going to live under that. There will have to be a partition at some point if she wins, because no one's going to live under that.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app. WFOM and W292 EV Marietta, a Dickey Broadcasting Station. The 9 a.m. hour is presented by Southern Exteriors. Quality and precision you can.
Here comes Milton. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
I know people are hurricane weary, but this is going to be a major storm impacting millions of people in Florida.
Fox meteorologist Janice Dean, Milton has quickly grown to a Category 3 hurricane with 125-mile-an-hour wind, and it's forecast to get stronger. So Fox's Evan Brown reports there are evacuations along Florida's west coast ahead of a midweek hit.
Many lost their homes in Hurricane Ian 2 years ago, or suffered damage just last month from Hurricane Helene.
Just got ourselves new houses, back into our houses.
Virginia Neff lives on Pine Island near Fort Myers. Jay Conklin is getting himself and his family out.
I've already boarded up my mom's house, boarded up my kid's house, and now I'm working on my house.
This as search and rescue, salvage, and recovery continue from Helene's devastation, much of it from flooding in North Carolina. Former President Trump's critical of the federal response. His running mate J.D. Vance tells Fox.
They're angry, they're sad, they're heartbroken. You talk to a lot of folks, and this is a region, the Appalachian region of our country, that has been ignored by leaders for 40 years, and they really feel ignored today.
President Biden's mobilized hundreds of active troops to join FEMA and the National Guard. The storm blamed for at least 230 deaths. Today marks 1 year since Hamas's terror attack in Israel and the kidnappings.
By the end of the day, we had one son missing and another son lying in Beersheba Sirocco Hospital, shot through the thigh.
Rabbi Doron Perez tells Fox that missing son is among the 36 dead hostages Hamas still has. 65 others still believed to be alive in Gaza. Now, Israel's being attacked still by rockets fired today from Hamas and Hezbollah as Israeli troops keep attacking militants in Gaza and Lebanon.
In the year since Hamas's terror attack on Israel, the U.S. has spent more than $22 billion in the region, according to an estimate from Brown University's Cost of War project. That total includes $17.9 billion in security assistance for Israel's military operations.
As Fox's Jared Halpern. America's listening to Fox News.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy two. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Jerry Paget, the second enlisted in the U.S. Navy and deployed multiple times to Iraq and Afghanistan until Jerry was catastrophically injured in an improvised explosive device blast. Now, Jerry received a new smart home thanks to our friends at the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Now, the home is in the foundation's Let Us Do Good Village. It's in Florida, and Jerry now lives more independently thanks to the specially adaptive technologies. Commit to $11 a month, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org.
Tug Howard, Scott Rhino, and Carlos Medina get your day started with Atlanta's only live and local conservative talk on the Morning Extra.
Tug, Rhino, and Los on the Morning Extra. I mean, Florida is already just taking a beating with Helene, and obviously all the southeastern United States is, and they're preparing for Hurricane Milton now, down closer to Tampa. So that's one of the big stories today. 9 o'clock hour brought to you by Southern Exteriors, 8779 Southern, southernexteriors.co. We are marking the 1 year point where Hamas attacked innocent civilians, and the crazy thing is, as we mark it as a terrible thing that's happened, Palestinian militants have fired rockets into Tel Aviv to mark the anniversary, as they call it, of the October 7th attacks. So we're marking it as the saddest thing that we've seen since probably the Holocaust, especially in Israel against Jews. And these people are, firing up celebratory rockets. It's the craziest thing ever in the history of the world. But those are the big stories for today.
Well, also, here's a big story, too. Atlanta just updated the rainbow crosswalk in Midtown to recognize trans people. So now they got more colors on there.
Good.
So,
Good.
yeah, that's another big story for today.
Yeah, don't walk across.
Yeah, more big news.
Yeah.
The hurricane is going to be the big look. Here we are again. Without a strategic petroleum reserve or enough petroleum, not only just for gas, but also for products that we use every single day, because the Biden-Harris administration emptied it in order for political favor and to distract Americans from the fact that we're in deep trouble here. Now, all of a sudden, we're going to look and see another hurricane going through Florida, and thank God, and it's so weird to say, hey, thank God this is going to stay and go right across and back into the ocean. Hopefully there's no damage, but we know that's not to be the case. And now we know that we can't expect FEMA, who can't afford to take care of one, to be able to take care of another one.
You'd get a kick out of this if it was like on SNL or it was on some comedy show. But because FEMA meetings are public record, you can then watch them. And so you've had, different Twitter sites like NWokeness that's gone back and pulled different FEMA meetings to see what they've been talking about this year. There's one of them that's on there. FEMA disaster preparedness meeting. Quote, we should focus our efforts on the LGBTQIA people. They struggle before the storm. Quote, FEMA relief is no longer about getting the greatest good for the greatest amount of people. It's about disaster equity.
Whatever that means.
This is the stuff these people have been talking about rather than, hey, why don't we help people who are going through a disaster?
I've been reading a story this morning that's not really along the same lines, but just the
disaster equity.
Well, yeah, but just the absurdity of it all. So apparently FEMA comes up on this road that has a sign that says this road is impassable, right? Is a private drive. You can't go through here. In the middle of a once in a lifetime disaster, FEMA says, yeah, we can't go down that road. There's a sign that says don't.
There's a sign that says it.
There's a sign that says don't. So instead of taking the supplies, the necessary food and supplies that they're supposed to try to get to people that need it the most, they said, yeah, until they take that sign down, there's no way we can do it. Who's going to take the sign down? Somebody go pull it off the thing and go.
This comes down to, and again, you can hear Glenn Beck every single day on this radio station. You can download the app. You can always hear him starting right after us at 10 o'clock. Glenn Beck, who's been on the ground in North Carolina, he brought it up that FEMA set up their shower system. Basically, we got our whole shower system so that you can come bathe. But it was only for volunteers. It wasn't for any of the locals.
Right.
And Glenn spent half the time putting his hands up in the air going, I don't understand how these people are working this way.
Fox News was just covering the story I was just talking about. I was trying to get back to it.
Yeah.
They're talking about FEMA not being able to access a road because there's a sign that says you can't go down this road. I mean,
again, we're going to get another storm Wednesday evening, Thursday morning. And it's going to be more of the same. And if it is not the epitome of ineptitude, and by the way, if you have family in that Tampa into the Orlando area, have them leave. All right, you got plenty of time right now. You got 72 hours. Get them out of there because you don't want to deal with what goes on in these disaster areas. It is not fun.
And I think some people are getting that message and have seen what's happened and realize that what you're saying, Los, is true. Because, Rhino, you're seeing I-75 and I-4 just are bumper to bumper people trying to get out of there, and rightfully so, because if you stay, you're depending on the federal government. They will fail you, just like they've failed in North Carolina. If it wasn't for those hillbillies with pack mules and that have been raised in those mountains and they know those hills and hollers better, like the back of their hand, if it weren't for them, this would be even worse. If you can imagine it being even worse, it would be.
There are things to say about certain people. Listen, the helicopter things and moving things in are one thing, and it is hard to say, hey, okay, look, air traffic, this, that, and the other. I mean, I can understand where that's a disruption. Tell me how pack mules and people doing the right thing is a disruption when they can get through these areas. It's not. They want to control every situation to try to make themselves look better than they're actually handling these storms. The fact of the matter is this: these roads are wiped out. There's 4 to 5 foot of silt and dirt underneath. It happens in all these storms, and Carlos will tell you right now that, a lot of times you'll find bodies and other things under this 5 to 8 feet of silt, and that's what they're finding. The stenches of the body, and people are just trying to get in there to help their neighbors, and the FEMA people keeping them out, just such a bad idea. Work with the people, find out what they can do, and use them.
So I have a former neighbor of mine. Him and his wife has since moved to another neighborhood, and we were chatting about this actually yesterday. Just ran into him randomly, and they had loaded up a trailer. They had taken stuff to North Carolina, and one of the things that he found it frustrating, but also it was the kind of thing that makes you feel good. He said there were so many people that were in so many of these areas. It wasn't the federal government. It was locals, and it was private industry that had come from all over the region to come help these people. And so they're looking to, hey, do we need to cut anything down? Do we need to take our backhoe out and help you out with any of this stuff? And they were like, no, we are totally good from that standpoint. What he recognized was it really came down to water, diapers, small generators, like little things, like not the big things.
Fundamental.
The big things were taken care of. It was a lot of the little stuff. And so if you are looking to make a donation, don't donate to the Red Cross.
No.
Find a way to do something small. You might not think a pallet of water is that big of a deal. Trust me, it's a huge deal for these people.
Yeah, I mean, the only way you're able to get it.
Keep in mind, this is coming to Florida too.
Yeah,
so be ready.
Absolutely. It's coming again, and we need to make sure that we do have the resources, because you know what? People who are going out and panic buying for no reason, don't do it. Stop it. Unless you're buying for them, sending it to them, stop panic buying, especially things that are made here in this country. All you're doing is taking away from people who actually need it, and that's so important. And we need real leaders to go out and start talking about these things, but I haven't seen Biden and Harris talking about any of this. Any of it.
I mean, can you imagine?
Well, that's because there's no leadership.
Can you imagine if George Bush didn't talk about Katrina?
Dude.
Oh, my gosh. Or Donald Trump didn't talk about Puerto Rico?
And by the way, it wasn't like Katrina was a situation where you were trying to find votes. New Orleans, as Ray Nagin called it, he was like, Ray, I couldn't believe the fact that him and the governor didn't want help, and Ray Nagin referred to it as a chocolate city. Mm-hmm. And we don't need your help. We're a chocolate city. New Orleans is going to stay a chocolate. I was like, do you realize how silly that sounds when you have 1,000 people that are drowning? Yeah. They're dead.
Absolutely.
I was like, get help wherever you can from it. But to think that if George Bush did not comment on it or did not visit, and you basically have right now Biden and Harris on, let's just touch it and get away from it.
And that's what
stay away from it.
And they have absolutely done that exact thing, and it's infuriating. And I pointed it out to some folks, and let me tell you, the lefty loonies came out of nowhere to defend the federal government, and that's the thing that surprises me.
Your post was great on Facebook. I got to be honest, before you get into what you said, or I don't know if you want. Yeah. When I see it, I go, what did he just do to himself? Like all these people on Peg is losing her mind saying, I can't believe he sent this out.
It was surprising. The ratio, though, was
so many more on your side.
10 to 1, 20 to 2.
I've only experienced this recently when I said that, hey, y'all know that remdesivir causes kidney failure? I mean, it's on the black box warning.
Yeah.
And man, the defenders, none of them were doctors, came out of nowhere to do their thing. It's weird how the cult will immediately surround somebody who actually tells them a bit of truth, even when they know it. Mm-hmm. Even when it's been studied, even when it's out there, the federal government is a failure in these cases. And when you point it out, the cult comes out to attack you for pointing it out.
It's crazy, the people that defend the federal government, because I've yet to see them be successful at anything. I mean, give me something in the last 20 years that the federal government has just done superb work with. Like, give me something good. You don't have to be great. I could downsize it. Just give me something good. Yeah, and nobody can, yet those same people come with pitchforks and lit torches to defend the federal government and defend FEMA.
Think about the most iconic legislation that we've had in probably the last 20 years. It's probably Obamacare. And remember, the website didn't work.
Yes, I do. Yes, of course.
You rolled it out, and the website didn't work. And you're telling me that somehow outside of bombing crazy places around the world, we do stuff really well? No, we don't.
We don't even do that well anymore. We don't even bomb well anymore. We can't evacuate. well anymore. Our military has so handcuffed and is so top heavy with crazy bureaucrats that the people on the ground can't do their job effectively, and it's being amplified and magnified with FEMA right now on the ground in North Carolina.
Yeah, because I wonder when, and I know we've had some of the Air National Guard, and you've had the National Guard that have rolled in and that are trying to do their staging areas and trying to help people out. But we're talking like 10 days later. Mm-hmm. Where were you on day 2, day 3?
Beach, fundraisers.
It took that long to figure out that these people needed. Governor DeSantis rolled in his own National Guard into the area before it was ever mobilized anywhere else. Think about that. The governor of a state recognized the problem before the federal government did.
Well, it's because he's paying attention. The federal government's not paying attention. They don't give a damn about those people.
Well, they don't want to acknowledge.
26 of 28 of those counties are voted for Trump.
Right. And they don't want him to vote again for Trump.
Absolutely
So,
not.
you know what? Don't give them anything they can to. You don't see anybody walking in there saying, hey, you know what? You guys, you still have a right to vote. We're going to set this up so that you'll have everything there. We're going to move your precinct to this area. We're going to make sure that you're able to vote, pick up your check at the same time. We're going to take good care of you. No. They don't want these people voting.
Well, David Axelrod, who basically ran the entire Obama operation as far as his the first time he ran for office, he was the brains behind it. And he pointed it out last week, talking about how, well, the liberal areas, they'll figure out a way to vote. He was talking about Asheville.
Yes,
they'll figure out a way. Here's the problem, and here's where it's short-sighted, and he's not thinking about this, and nor does he understand the scope of the damage. It's going to hurt you more because you have to wrangle the vote, you have to organize, you have to knock on doors, you have to go find the people, you got to find the ballots. None of that's going to happen in Asheville. None of it. The Democrat machine does not operate in a disaster area. So you can pretty much take North Carolina and just mark it right off because you needed Asheville in order to try and make it a battleground state. You ain't going to have it now.
Right. That's right. And those hillbillies,
they're angry.
If anybody can get to the polls,
they're angry.
They'll put together a mule train.
Yeah.
They'll get to the polls.
And, they don't even understand what's happening because, again, a lot of people who listen to the show know that we're working on a home in Edenton, North Carolina. Now, that's on the entire east side. That's on the coast. But all the way throughout, we're on a lot of the same social media platforms. What they're trying to do to get to the people over in western North Carolina is amazing. And they all notice it. They all notice the lack of leadership at the top down. And it is affecting the way that maybe some of them were going to vote for Harris. But they realize, hold on one second, these are our people now, and they're not taking care of them. They don't even care about them. They don't seem to, not compared to the other people that they care about that don't belong here. So I think it will really affect, and I don't think they're, again, this is an October surprise I don't think they're prepared for.
If I may.
Yeah.
So this just from the National Hurricane Center as of 4 minutes ago. They have their latest update. Milton rapidly intensifies into a Category 4 hurricane. Maximum sustained winds now increase to 150 miles per hour. Understand, 155 is a Cat 5.
Yeah.
So that's the direction we're going. If you have friends, you have family, and they're in that Tampa area or anywhere through there, have them leave now.
Yeah,
it's not the time to ride out. This is a monster for something that had only a 30% chance of turning into something. It turned into something.
And you got to remember where it's going in and coming out. Where they have it coming out on the east side. I mean, that's just going to gain strength. It's so big that those bands will stay out on the water, just keep whipping around. It could hang over that area for so long.
Disney doesn't close for much of anything. Okay, like Disney World and Waffle House. Those are the ones that you go, what is it? Like COVID occurred, Disney closed down, Waffle House is like, we good here.
We're good. Mm-hmm.
All right. Disney is closed for Thursday, Friday this week.
And it makes sense that, you're going to put people in danger for having them there, and it keeps people from evacuating. If Disney's open, we'll be fine. I mean, they would never stay open. But the thing that is unnerving to me a little bit is the forecasters, they're doing their best as far as meteorologists go. They're trying to figure out the path. They completely missed the path on Hurricane Helene. Completely. That was supposed to be Atlanta. It went east. So the possibility of that thing doing something that is unexpected is good, in my opinion.
But understand, something that kicks 40 miles either way is a massive difference in what goes on. It's gigantic. And so when it does kick, you might be like, 40 miles, what's the big deal? I can cover that in 30 minutes. That amount changes the entire topography of what it's doing and where it's hitting and the outcomes of it. Like I said, we very could have been just drenched in the 41 trillion gallons of water.
We were expected to. Remember? I mean, we were like, oh my gosh, we've got to get in here super early to make sure that we can at least get the word out, get message out.
They closed the office for everybody except for us.
That's right.
They're like, hey, this is going to hit right at the time. Tug, Rhino, Los, and Joe, and the guys over at 680 are coming in. You guys who are salespeople, you stay home. You stay home. We're going to let these guys brave it. But we were kind of nervous. We're like, hold on, why are they sending us in?
They're sending the troops in.
Yeah, they're sending us in.
They figured we could survive.
They didn't even give me my umbrella yet.
Those nice 680 umbrellas.
Yeah, I want my 680 umbrella.
Kick open the supplies closet door and get one.
150.
It's horrible.
You want to talk about the amount of storm surge you get from 150 miles an hour?
Some 20-foot swells.
Get out of there.
Easy.
Because that's what it was.
Yeah.
20 foot when Helene
And that was 140.
Yeah.
That's 10 miles. I mean, 10 miles per hour is a big difference in wind, too.
Absolutely it is. Headlines are next, and then some of your neighbors are just fine with censorship. This should not sit well with you. Next on the Morning Xtra, Tug, Rhino, and Los until 10. The Kimmer Show is only on Extra 106.3 every weekday afternoon on your drive home.
If she wins, it's the United States. It's the end of what we knew it as, what we grew up in.
We're not going to take it.
Because there's 100 million of us that won't live under that. What she's going to try and do, we're not going to live under that. There will have to be a partition at some point if she wins, because no one's going to live under that.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app. The future of business in Georgia is bright, and Georgia Power is a driving force behind the businesses and organizations that are vital to the growth of the state. Organizations like Georgia Tech.
Hi, this is Jay Batten, Director of Athletics here at Georgia Tech. This is an incredible place. The history of success, the coaches that have been here, everybody from Heisman to Coach Dodd to Coach Curry to Coach Ross, and even now to Coach Key. We've got this tremendous history of success. This is an anchor here in Midtown Atlanta. This is such a growing, vibrant market, particularly for college sports. You know, Atlanta has one of the highest percentages of college sports fans for any major metro. The work being done over my shoulder is a first of many steps towards our continued evolution towards the very highest level and reestablishing Georgia Tech athletics at that championship caliber. We continue to invest in the fan experience here in Bobby Dodd.
To learn more about how Georgia Power is helping businesses big and small, visit GeorgiaPower.com and tune in all year to discover how they're powering the future of Georgia.
Oh man, look at my backyard. Looks like a tornado met a hurricane in a desert. I'm going to tell her to turf off. Or maybe you'd rather turf on with ATL Turf Co., the Southeast's leading turf installer. Whether you'd like a new football field, putting green, or have us create the perfect maintenance-free backyard of your dreams, find ATLTurfCo.com. Make your yard great again. Visit ATLTurfCo.com and see what we've created for customers like you in the Southeast. ATLTurfCo.com. And no more yard cackling.
Hey, Atlanta, it's Mark from the Safe House. You need a safe, you just don't know it. And it's Gun Safe Month at the Safe House. Gun sales are at an all-time high. Wherever you store your guns or most prized possessions, don't let a fire or break-in wipe away years of hard work or destroy items that can't be replaced. Secure your valuables in a quality safe from Atlanta Safe House. With over 500 safes in stock, Atlanta Safe House offers the best selection of gun and home safes in the Southeast, and there's no waiting on a safe. Go to AtlantaSafehouse.com. That's AtlantaSafehouse.com.
Millions of guys suffer from erectile dysfunction. That's 1 in 4 men. And I can tell you, I'm one of them.
If you or someone you know suffer from ED, Peyronie's disease, or PE, here's 38-year emergency room doctor and founder of Total Body Therapy of Georgia, Dr. Eric Deal.
Patients who enter my office are often frustrated, hopeless, depressed, and embarrassed. I understand the problem, and I'm going to help you fix it. There are lots of competitors that don't have the credentials that I have. When you go to other clinics, you're not going to see a board-certified physician with the experience that I have. When you come to our clinic, you're going to see me. There's just not one therapy that can solve these complex issues. I'll do a complete history and physical prior to any treatment that we use. Take it from me, Dr. Deal. When it's not hard, it's really hard.
Call Dr. Deal for your free one-on-one evaluation and resolve your ED, Peyronie's, or PE issues. Total Body Therapy of Georgia, 404-777-1911, 404-777-1911, online at StopMyED.com.
There are crazies on the road. Who knows where they're all going, but if one of them hits you, don't take care of it on your own. Call my friend David Van Sant. He is the lawyer that used to work for the insurance company. The team at Van Sant Law knows who to call, what to say, and will make sure you get what you deserve and what the insurance company doesn't want to pay for. They have your best interest at heart and will take care of everything. If you don't get paid, they don't get paid. My advice, save Van Sant Law in your phone. Today, 855-GA-INJURY, vansantlaw.com.
By texting 64000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Real Success. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at ourrealsuccess.com.
Do you want to learn how to make money flipping houses and acquiring rental properties right here in Atlanta? We're offering a handful of motivated individuals the opportunity to attend our workshop right here in Atlanta for free. That's right. We'll give you 2 free tickets when you text FREE to 64,000. Atlanta is the perfect market to flip houses and build rental income. Discover the simple steps developed by Joe Arias, one of real estate's greatest rags to riches stories. You'll learn to flip properties and secure rental properties without using your own money and in your spare time. Don't miss this opportunity. Come to a complimentary live 2-hour workshop next week right here in Atlanta and learn how to start making money flipping homes and building long-term wealth with rental properties. To get 2 free tickets, text FREE to 64,000. Text in the next 10 minutes, and registrants will also receive a free copy of our Funding for Deals guide. Text FREE to 64,000 for 2 complimentary tickets. Text FREE to 64,000.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Monday, October 7th. Douglas County deputies responded to a burglary call in the St. Andrews Country Club neighborhood early Friday morning. Deputies found that Aubrey Horton had entered a home and was then shot and fatally wounded by the homeowner in what the Sheriff's Department is calling an act of self-defense. The Atlanta Police Department confirmed that Aubrey Horton was an investigator with the fugitive unit and was off duty at the time of the shooting. Investigator Horton had been honored as Officer of the Year just a few days earlier. Today is the last day to register to vote in the state of Georgia. You can register online at the Georgia Secretary of State's office or register by mail, phone, or in person at a local election office. Here are some important things to know if you plan on registering today. You must have a valid ID, be a U.S. citizen, and be a legal resident in the county where you are registering. Early voting in the state begins on October 15th and ends on November 1st. And if your commute involves MARTA, passengers on the Gold Line should be aware that the trains will be skipping the Brookhaven station for the next 6 weeks as renovations begin on the station's platforms. During the renovations, MARTA will provide shuttle bus service to Lenox Station to the south and Chamblee Station to the north. Construction is expected to last until November 15th.
Been talking about Hurricane Milton that's forming, expected to hit Florida on Wednesday. Gary is from Seminole, Florida, near the beaches. And if you're not familiar with that area, it's kind of southwest of Tampa, kind of northwest of St. Petersburg, but is on the line. And you decided to leave Gary, I assume, for taking the family up here to Georgia, right?
Yes. I have 6 children. They're all adults, probably several kids. It was a nightmare. It was a mess last week or the week before. We had rain. We had wind, but the flooding that came in was just incredible. It was about 6 feet. My daughter lost her house, 3 cars, trailer. I mean, it was very devastating. And to go down all these streets, because my son's in construction and we're doing cleanup and helping people and doing things down there, whatever we can do, it's just like a war zone. But to have this next hurricane hit us directly where we live, because I live right off the beach 1 mile inland, and I'm about 51 feet above, but everybody else is like almost 2 feet, almost at sea level. It'll take everything out to sea. Any rubbish that's in front of anybody's houses, which every single house, I think they said there's 38,000 homes that were affected. They'll lose it. I mean, everything will be gone. They've lost everything already, and we've been having a hard time with FEMA.
No, say it ain't so.
Letting us sending this stuff to dumps. Now our governor stepped in and said no. He went in and actually broke all the locks to these dump stops yesterday, and to help people, just bring everything you can there and just dump all your trash. as much as you get out before the storm comes.
Gary, let me ask you a question. How are you dealing with this and your family dealing with this mentally? Because as you said, 10 days ago, total disaster. You deal with the storm surge. You deal with the vehicles being washed out and ruined by salt water. Mentally, how are you handling the fact that, okay, this is coming again for us and it's probably going to be worse this time around?
It's terrible. It's because you want to get your family, you want to get your friends, you want to get everybody out that you could possibly get. We left yesterday afternoon at around 1 o'clock. It usually takes about 7 hours because my daughter lives up here. Luckily, she lives up in Marietta. It takes about 8 hours. It took us over 10 hours to get up here, which wasn't too bad. But traffic was starting to get to be a nightmare, and it's going to be even worse.
Yeah. Gary, thank you so much for joining us, because these people are not being seen in Florida. And part of that is because Governor DeSantis has done such a good job in just kind of controlling what they can down there and doing what they can. And it's real leadership that you're seeing. There's nothing you can do to stop the storms, but there are things that you can do to prepare for them. And that's what Governor DeSantis has done. But they're not getting the help they need.
I think what's frustrating for me is that you look at some of the stuff that FEMA has been doing, and like last year, they signed their pledge with the NAACP to make sure to have, equity and disaster relief. Man, there's no such thing. It's like when it happens to everybody. The only thing that's inequitable is FEMA. The disaster, when it hits, affects everybody the same.
Of course, man. So you have no time whatsoever to get things done for all of the people, but you do have time to break down who should get it over somebody else. Right. That's how ridiculous this entire administration is. I am so sick and tired of Harris and Walz and Biden and Buttigieg and Karine Jean-Pierre and all the liars in this entire thing that have played games and affect American people every single day. 250,000 people dying of fentanyl. I mean, we can go through all the numbers of the border, and then you're saying, hey, we're paying most of those guys and giving them money, but we can't take care of the ones in Florida, Valdosta and Tennessee, and now we got another one coming through, and we've emptied your strategic petroleum reserve. If any American votes for these people, they're un-American in my mind.
Oh, I know Gary has the same sentiment I do. If we had leadership at the top, you can direct FEMA to be more aggressive. But the problem is that if you were to do so as of right now, you'd be acknowledging that what you're doing is a failure.
Right,
and that's what they won't do.
No, they can't do that.
They will not touch this thing. And they'll do the same thing. They're going to look at what's going to happen in Florida, and they'll be like, well, we're directing FEMA, emergency services. Recognize that pile of money is essentially gone. 2023, fiscal 2024, that money's already been spent.
Yeah, boy, with the exception of the $20 billion that was injected 2 Fridays ago. And now they're saying we're still
not going to make ends.
We're still not going to make ends, which is unbelievable.
They're like, we can't afford another hurricane.
This freaking mismanagement is unreal. The amount of money that they get. Give that to a private organization, they would run it forever. Give it to Samaritan's Purse, give it to an organization like that, and it would be used effectively because it's meant to. With the federal government, it's all about loopholes. Just think about the way the IRS runs. It's all about loopholes. How can you make yourself not pay as much taxes? And it's written in the law. You should not pay you should pay as little as you possibly can using the tax code to your advantage. Why not just make it simple? That way people don't have to jump through hoops all the time.
If Kamala Harris and Tim Walz cared about the American people, they'd be doing what Governor Ron DeSantis is doing right now, which is giving updates on what's coming. Milton, what they should be doing, what they should be preparing for, especially since you've already had one come through a week ago. You would think the people in charge, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, they would be going, hey, America's people in Florida, here's what's coming. Here's where you need to be prepared. Here's what you should be doing. They should be talking to the entire country right now, but they're not. They care more about polls and everything else in their political future than they do about the American people, and they show it every single day.
Well, what do you have going on Fox News right now?
There's
Governor DeSantis giving you another hurricane. Yep. I'll tell you, when I was in Florida before Helene came through, he was on every single day, sometimes twice a day, because all the radio stations would air it, and he was giving you updates on here's what we have in place, here's what we're going to do, and also giving you time checks, telling people you can get out right now, it's time to go. And then by his last one, it's probably too late. This is what you have to do.
Down.
And so you're getting directives the entire time. And so much of what they were doing, he was very aggressive with those people that are elderly, especially nursing home oriented. We're getting you out first. This is what we're doing. That's leadership.
Of course
That's
it
what
is.
you're supposed to be getting. And so I think just as we heard from a guy like Gary was like, I can't trust them to take care of this stuff. I'm getting out.
I'm taking care of me.
Yeah,
And you're
good.
gonna have
Get
to.
out.
No,
it's time to.
right.
Good.
Yeah.
It's what's happening is frightening, and the fact that you're seeing Ron DeSantis on television and not Joe Biden and not Kamala Harris tells you everything you need to know about Joe Biden and Kamala
And
Harris.
what's going to happen is once this thing hits and it does the devastation, it'll be your private organizations, your Christian-based
Just like
groups,
it is in North
just
Carolina.
the same thing are going to be the ones. Your Cajun Navy that are really well
God bless 'em.
organized,
Oh, gosh.
they'll be the ones that roll in. You won't see a FEMA truck for probably a good 2 weeks.
No, I mean, you get the people, if they were serious about this, they'd already be there doing what they can with sandbags and organizing and get everything ready to be prepared for a storm. They'd be organizing people to say, hey, board up your windows. They'd be bringing things to help save homes now. They don't do it until after because that's the entire administration at this point, which is, hey, we'll deal with it reactively. We cannot be proactive because we can't think that far ahead.
I'm not the smartest guy in the room ever. Never once in my entire life have I been that. The elite 1% lives in the suburbs of big cities. So I do fall into that category. That elite 1% has post-grad degrees. I do not. Those people are making at least $100,000 a year. And so that I would assume on average making the household income about $300,000 a year. Not like everyday Americans do. The biggest problem is jumping off the page at me when I read a new study out of Harvard that says the influential 1%, the elite as they're described, are just fine with censorship. Like when we talk about the freedom to speak and say the things that you feel like is important. The folks over at Rasmussen say, the people that live next door to you that have those postgraduate degrees, they do not want you speaking your mind. They are just fine with the clampdown on social media. They're just fine with the clampdown on the First Amendment, which should scare you to death. They say it's too much freedom. And that's a quote. Too much freedom. I don't even think that exists. Too much freedom?
Too much freedom.
Get out of here, dude.
That is absolutely insane.
But the problem is
I don't
all
want
of
to know
our
when my
neighbors believe it.
Yeah, our neighbors are ridiculous. But all our neighbors believe it until it turns on them, right? Look at all the people in Minnesota who believed that it was best to call Tim Waltz and the Gestapo to come down there when they saw their neighbors outside of the home. But yet, if it was the other way around, oh gosh, that would be such a problem. That's the problem with some of these people. They think they're on the right side and they're on the wrong side of censorship. Nobody should be censored for anything that they say. I just don't believe it. Should you face the consequences? Absolutely, you should, of things that you say within reason. Otherwise, there's no fairness in censorship.
So CNN was going through some of the polling yesterday morning, and one of the things that they did was they focused on the areas of which, in battleground states, where the suburban areas have seen the biggest jump in cost of living. One of the areas was Pennsylvania, where it was talking about here's the entire area where Donald Trump is campaigning. You know what was the next highest area? Suburban Atlanta. Those were the two areas where they had the highest raise in cost of living in the entirety of the country. And so when you then have these areas that are seemingly okay with censorship, there's something weird about, are you somehow trying to tell people that they shouldn't be talking about what's actually happening in real life?
It certainly seems that way, but I think even more than that, they buy into CNN and MSNBC and ABC and CBS, whatever. They believe when they hear Hillary Clinton say, we've got to police misinformation. And that sounds great on the surface. You know, we got to police misinformation. But then when you start digging down just a little bit, just below the surface, you're like, well, who's the arbiter of truth? Who's the one that's telling the truth? Who has the forward thought enough to give you an honest answer? Because the mainstream media is not.
Well, their goal, and you've been very adamant about this, 96% of the media, most everybody in these newsrooms, they are completely on the communist cause. You know, they may not identify as such. Not often will people call themselves communists. They'll be like, well, I'm liberal. I'm a social democrat. Yeah. They don't actually recognize what the real power struggle is here. I want you to take a listen to Hillary Clinton, because she's going to point out If you take away their ability to influence your thoughts, if you give people an alternate view of reality, such as, hey, you know what? Things aren't really as good in the job market. Remember, last week you're told, look how many jobs we got. It's been revised down every single time. They missed it by 800,000 for a year.
That's not there's no way to miss it by that much. That's intentional.
That's how much it's completely intentional. So whenever they tell you, hey, job market's great, but you're sitting back going, it's not really all that great, and you start getting the actual information, take a listen to what Hillary is concerned about with that.
There should be a lot of things done. We should be, in my view, repealing something called Section 230, which gave, platforms on the internet immunity because they were thought to be just pass-throughs, that they shouldn't be judged for the content that is posted. But we now know that that was an overly simple view, that if the platforms, whether it's Facebook or Twitter X or Instagram or TikTok, whatever they are, if they don't moderate and monitor the content, we lose total control.
See, Section 230 wasn't a problem when they were running
Right.
Twitter.
I was going to say, they love Section 230. In fact, Democrats continued to, align behind Section 230 and even held special committees on it. Now, all of a sudden, they don't?
See, understand, just for the people out there, you have a car, you own the car, but you have a license to drive it from the state. Radio stations, television stations are much the same. Mm-hmm. We own it, but we need the license in order to operate it, and that comes from the government. And so we have to do as they point out. That's not the case with 230.
No.
230 allows the internet to run itself, essentially, however it's chosen to be run. And so what Hillary's suggesting is we need to take control of the internet so we can decide what gets aired.
The last thing she said was total control, which should be the most frightening of all of it, Rhino.
Well, because part of that was Mark Zuckerberg came out and said, hold on, no, they did tell us this is what we need to be censoring. This is what we need to stop. We need to shut down one side and not the other. So, of course, Hillary Clinton's saying, no, we need to totally control this the way we do the mainstream media already. We need to make sure that we get social in line with what we want.
Anybody that says total control frightens me, Los.
Oh, and this is just for the people out there. When you hear Kamala Harris ads on our station, that is done by the FCC. We have to give each group a fair shot at this because that's part of our license. All right, what she's talking about is these companies can do whatever they want. In this case, it's Twitter. We need control over it so we can decide what gets aired on there. Now, again, it starts with a slow creep. Then it turns into your app having Kamala Harris ads every single day.
Yeah. Now, the good thing is we can go and talk about those ads and say they're garbage all day. They're all lies.
Legally, we got to hammer you with them.
Yeah, but we got to play them for sure. Morning Extra, Extra 106.3, 9 o'clock hours brought to you by Southern Exteriors, 8779 Southern, southernexteriors.co. When we come back, SNL is working hard to be funny again. Next on the Morning Extra as we wrap up the show before Glenn Beck takes over, then Clay and Buck, and the local afternoon show with the Kimber, Pete, and Flounder from 3 until 6.
The Kimmer Show is only live on Extra 106.3 every weekday afternoon on your drive home. They're showing that he was a puppet and that she's a puppet. They've showed their hand. It's basically all out in the open now.
The only political party in the history of the world, of any country, anywhere in the world, that's performed a coup against its enemy and its own guy. They performed a coup against Donald Trump and a coup against their own president of the United States.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
Doug Moore is a health insurance broker at yourchoicehealthplan.net. He believes your health insurance premiums should not look like a mortgage payment. You don't have to overpay for health insurance. He sells private insurance with no deductibles and no rate increases. These plans are typically 30 to 60% less than what you're paying and don't need to change doctors. He customizes all plans to meet your budget. Don't fret. Go to yourchoicehealthplan.net. He can save you big money. Call Doug Moore at 770-697-0100. That's 770-697-0100. Don't fret. Go to yourchoicehealthplan.net. If your payment is too high, you're on COBRA, or your work coverage is too expensive, call Doug, 770-697-0100. You don't have to have government marketplace insurance that's crazy expensive. Don't fret. Go to yourchoicehealthplan.net and request a quote. Call 770-697-0100 and let Doug design a plan for you, not by big government.
Are you planning for your big day? Are you picking out the venue, the cake, the menu, the dress, the tux? And you can't forget about those wedding bands. Well, you're in luck because Wedding Band Weekend is back at Solomon Brothers Jewelers. October 25th through the 27th is the best time to save big on those wedding bands that you'll say I do with. During Wedding Band Weekend at Solomon Brothers Jewelers, when you buy her band, you get his for free. And to make your purchase even easier, we're offering 60 months interest-free financing on all of the top wedding band designers in the industry. That's 5 years to not worry about paying for those beautiful rings that symbolize your commitment. And remember, no matter the price, you'll find something nice. So come visit us October 25th through the 27th to shop for your wedding bands in Buckhead on Peachtree Road, Alpharetta Old Milton Parkway, and Sharpsburg on Highway 34 and Fisher Road, or online at SolomonBrothers.com.
Hey, sandwich lovers. Today's your lucky day. There's a whole new way to roll for lunch or dinner delight with Nucky's Hoagies in the Roswell Corners Shopping Center. Now open. Nucky's Hoagies in Roswell is family owned and operated by the Sub-Sisters, Stacy and Shannon, whose love language is food and Nucky's Hoagies, their passion. When you bite into a Nucky's Hoagie, you'll taste the difference. The softest hoagie rolls ever, along with hunger-quenching sandwich combinations. Make Nucky's Hoagies in Roswell on Woodstock Road your new favorite spot for lunch or dinner.
Looking for bold discussions on vital issues? Tune in to The Janelle King Show every Saturday at 3 p.m. with an encore episode every Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on Extra 106.3, where we dive into kitchen table topics that are essential for a strong republic. Don't miss an episode, but if you do, it's all good because we have new podcasts that drop every Tuesday on the Podcast Park or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't miss out on these thought-provoking conversations.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
The Morning Extra, Neil Bortz, and The Kimmer Show are all online for you anytime at thepodcastpark.com. Plus all of Extra's exclusive podcasts like Ben Burnett, Janelle King, and so much more. All at thepodcastpark.com. Presented by Associated Credit Union.
I don't know what happened to SNL, and I don't know what's going on there now. It used to be funny. And then for a long time, it's not been funny. I would say even, the better part of 10, 15 years. Not even really funny. And now, all of a sudden, they're back in the comedy game. They feel like that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are finally a target that they can poke fun of.
Man, it's been fun to get these random pieces of political comedy. So I want you to take a listen. There's two different audio clips. The first one, you're going to hear Kamala Harris with her husband. And the fictitious thing that they're doing is that they're sitting down getting ready to watch the vice presidential debate. And they're also making fun of the fact that they believe Kamala Harris has a bit of a drinking issue because she's pouring a glass of wine. And if you don't know, there is a brand called Josh out there. So I want you to take a listen to the piece of comedy they're going to play as they're getting ready to watch Tim Walz during the VP debate.
Okay, he's out there. He's doing his thing, whatever that may be.
Okay, come on, just relax. You haven't had a night off in 3 months. Do you want to watch something less stressful like the Menendez Brothers show?
I don't know, Dougie. I kind of wish I had picked Josh right now.
Oh, Josh Shapiro?
No, Josh Cabernet.
Look, Tim will be fine. It's not like he's going to say something crazy.
I've become friends with school shooters.
As she breaks a wine glass right in her hand. I've become friends with school shooters.
Good Lord. But this is so perfect for him. Like, it's exactly what every one of us thought. We are all Kamala Harris in that moment when he said that.
Our text chain became, did he just say he was friends with school shooters?
Hang on.
Hold on a second.
I know he misspoke, but it's hard to misspeak.
Did he? That's a tough misspeak.
It's tough to misspeak there.
I put it out there on X. I was like, I understand the times you misspeak, but that's one of them where you got to correct that pretty quickly.
Even immediately.
Oh, gosh, yeah. I'd be like, strike that from the record. I didn't mean that in that regard, and you know what I'm saying. I meant the families. I misspoke.
So, going along these lines, here's your next piece of audio. Yeah, it's good for SNL having fun with this. So, they then dig into the idea of Tim Walz saying that he was in places that he hadn't been. Obviously, he got asked about, talking about Tiananmen Square, and he called himself a knucklehead and tried to kind of pass it off that way. Take a listen to the way that they made this out on SNL.
Governor Walz, you claimed you were in Hong Kong during the 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre when you were home in Minnesota. Can you explain that?
So I think what happened is I went to Epcot. You can go around the whole world, and I had a couple in the Germany section, and I thought I went to China. Anyway, I'm a knucklehead.
That's exactly right. Dude, but does it stand out to y'all that they didn't do any of this when it was just Joe Biden being the president? It wasn't until someone was in or running for office that they didn't care for? You know what I mean? Like, they don't like Kamala either?
Joe Biden would have been perfect during the entirety of the period.
Of course, but they didn't do it. That's the point.
No. I think about the years of Chevy Chase and him falling off of ladders as the president. And that was a regular piece of comedy that they were doing. They're known for how they depicted George Bush. This is supposed to be part of what gives you a healthy society is mocking those in power. And they decided to wait 3.5 years.
Yeah, they missed out on it. How many times have we talked about the fact that, comedians have missed out on this gold that they've had for, 3.5, 4 years now. When, Jimmy Fallon, I was lucky enough to have him on with me and talk while we were on the Guy Benson show. And that was one of the questions I asked him. And he goes, I don't get it. Like, they should be all over this every single day. It's comedy gold and it's a joke. But the reality of it is this. They also work for the same kind of mainstream media outlets that don't want that kind of talk out there. So this has been hidden up until this point.
It's hard to book when you are looking to get booked by television networks and assorted, where you say, okay, your politics doesn't fit our politics. So you think that if you're a funny comedian who's pretty conservative, you're going to find yourself on the Colbert Show? No chance.
Not even a slight chance.
You think you're going to end up being on ABC and you're going to get to talk to Jimmy Kimmel? No.
But unpack it, though. Let's go back to my original statement about the fact that they didn't mock Joe Biden for 3.5 years. Joe Biden. But now all of a sudden it's okay to do that. I really believe it's because they don't like Kamala too.
Yeah.
They've allowed the door to be open.
Sure seems that way.
And now they're even letting them poke fun at Joe Biden a little bit because Joe's out and it doesn't matter anymore. There's no damage that they can do to him by poking fun at him. And that's why the Dana Carvey character is so funny. But I think there's something there.
They made a small joke at Kamala Harris as far as the alcoholism.
Yeah.
All right. That was the only thing they did. Everything was going over at Tim Walz. If she ends up getting beat as the way it looks like that, I wonder if they'll go full guns on
or pull up the brakes altogether.
And the cocaine was hers.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Oh, yeah. That's another one. Which,
do you know that, Bella? It was her cocaine, by the way.
In the White House.
Well, they need to...
Allegedly.
They need to do what they need to do at this point to eliminate her if they need to. I'm all for it and get her out of politics forever, because right now, the way that she's running this campaign, I think Democrats are embarrassed. I think Democrats should be embarrassed the fact that a teleprompter goes out and you can't follow down and repeat the same message you've been repeating now for 6 months. Seriously.
32
I think they're done with her.
Merry-go-round. I think there's some of that too, man. I really do.
But you know who ends up looking the best out of this entire thing is going to end up being Joe Biden. Because you know what he's going to claim? He's going to claim, I told you should have stayed with me.
Yep.
I beat him before.
I got 14 million votes. She didn't get nothing.
But now they put a headset on Bella, one of our social media mavens. Now she can hear what we're talking about.
Well, that's good news. Did you, by any chance, Bella, see the Saturday Night Live skit that where they were making fun of?
She doesn't watch Saturday Night Live.
Do you not?
That's an old people show.
Right.
No. Bella, is that an old person show, Saturday Night Live?
Kind of.
But on social media,
I watch it.
Yeah,
I see like skits on like.
Yeah, right. You see, like, you might not go in because I don't either. I always see it afterwards as well. I'm not going to stay up that late to actually watch the show, but in repackaged form, which is where they hope to get people.
I watch it on YouTube the day after.
So what was the skit?
It's just them making.
Go shower.
That's right. Yeah, fill her in. So she knows.
And then watch Chimp Empire after that.
Chimp Empire. I gotta watch this now.
That's right.
So worked
On
up into
Netflix.
Chimp Empire. I'm 6 months behind, but I'm catching up.
That's the way to do it right there. Get caught up as best you can. I just ran across this on the New York Post. I finally found the article that I was looking at. And this harkens back to a conversation we had about 30 minutes ago about Bat Cave, North Carolina.
Okay. Residents
in this tiny North Carolina town, this is according to the New York Post, were almost totally destroyed by Hurricane Helene and and they have been fending for themselves because FEMA was told they couldn't go down the closed road because it had a closed road sign, even though the road was completely open. So they just stopped. They didn't deliver. They went back to their supervisor and said, yeah, that sign says road closed. We can't go. What the hell? What? I mean, this is a completely passable road to deliver life-saving medication and food and diapers and baby formula. And they said, nope, we can't do it because it said road closed.
Can I go a little underhanded?
Yes.
I would like FEMA to operate very similar to shooters who, when it says a gun-free zone and they go, all right.
Yeah.
All right, operate that way. Just because it says road closed doesn't mean you don't help people.
FEMA called me.
Take the lesson, take the message under advisement.
Yeah, absolutely. Chelsea Atkins, 38. FEMA called me, told me they wanted to come inspect my house and deliver the stuff I needed, but they couldn't because of the road closed sign. You be freaking kidding me, dude. You got to be freaking kidding me. Nobody is that inept at their job. Nobody.
Oh, yeah, they are. Trust me.
Anybody in the federal government. I
Experience
guess
that.
I'm sure he did because Lois's house, in case you don't know, was taken away by Hurricane Michael and he had to deal with FEMA directly. So he's had
They're awesome.
First-hand experience. Unbelievable. 9 o'clock hour brought to you by Southern Exteriors, southernexteriors.co and 8779-SOUTHERN if you need their help. And we got more bad weather coming. So you got a roof leak or you got a roof that needs replacing, they can get it done now. 8779-SOUTHERN, southernexteriors.co. For Rhino, Los, and Board Up Goey Virgin River. I'm Tug. Y'all come back now, you hear?
The legend Neil Bortz is live every week with Atlanta legend The Kimmer.
Well, I don't know whether you've seen the Babylon Bee. You're going to kick out of this. Babylon Bee, a couple of quick headlines. Hezbollah starting to think they should not have gotten their pagers from Levi Gold Bromstein's Pager Emporium. And one more. Israel kills thousands more terrorists with exploding 200 free hours of AOL CDs.
Oh, you're terrible. I like the little messages that are showing up on the pagers when you look at them. Yeah. You know, like one of them just said 72 virgins calling.
Waiting for you.
Yeah. And the other one is from the liver to the knee.
I haven't seen that one.